What a thing in this thing. I'm just say Jamaica now, why? Man, Jamaica maybe not even existing. You know, maybe we think so we exist or we not exist because me I look at some clip of this thing show, you know, and I say, but wait, people pay for going there, or people just decide, say, them are going to just go in at the place and anywhere them find themselves. Like, if you want to watch a show, you can stand up on the stage and watch a show. And you have to belong and watch a show up on the stage, but you can also take part with the artists and perform on the show. And not only that, all the security, them can go up on the stage and run up and down and I try to save one artist from the other. And what is lad? No, I mean, really no, really. Really. Have you ever been to a show and see two artists and perform same time? When I say same time, I mean two different artists. One over one side of the stage and perform to the crowd over there, so. Or one over one side of the stage and perform to the crowd over there, so. Or, when you look at the stage, you see people there on the stage like at this, so them keep watch the show from. Them not have no, where the promoter them this day when all that go on, me really. You don't have no backstage, obviously you don't have no backstage because the amount of people me see on them stage there. And the amount of run up and down me say all the security. Me think say that man have all the vest and I go perform to right. Let me look at the show. It's really security on the stage. I protect one artist from the next artist. And not only that, them not have no control over nothing. Nothing at all go on. That's why I ask the question, people didn't really pay for going to the show. Because I don't see there, that's not show, Rasta. That's a confusion. A confusion that. We don't care nobody want to say. And I say, boy, right now, so things run and things don't run that way there. And anybody accept that, knows that them head get leaked. Anybody will accept them kind of show there. You know so them head get leaked because nobody can have them right mind and tell me, say, boy, right now, Muta, I show you old man in a Rasta, so things forgot. A joke business. A joke business, things not forgot so. You can't perform up on stage and security run up and down on stage and protect one artist from the next artist. And then you see a whole heap of people just get up on the stage. I tell you. No, Rasta. No. Jamaica was a normal place because there's no other place in the world. In the world. You know, go. And see, so much people there on stage don't have nothing to do with the show. And so much security. Security go up on stage when a fight broke, yes, but them on stage continuously try to protect, stop a fight from broke. Because the two men them are profiles, they're married now and Queen you know. Every time Queen says something, she have to run. Every time Queen says something, she have to run. No. Because Amari look like her head get licked out. And I know so my wife love Amari, you know that's that. She follow Amari about 2 years now during the COVID, she follow Amari. I say, Amari head must get licked because every time she repeat the same thing. Away I try to mad me. Away I try to mad me. Away, I say, weird. Something wrong with that. She really try to get mad for you, but no, boy. And every time Queen says something, she have to run. And that's it me about the thing, you know. Every time Queen says something, she run, go around it, so security have to shield of her from her. And why me I tell you, Rasta? And then, you know, so me hear man cause bad word on stage all the while, you know, but me never hear someone bad word on one stage yet in a one show. Never hear someone bad word. So all that now, show you know, that got through the door now, go through the window now. Anybody that tell you about say I go get arrested for cause it's a joke business. A joke business because from stadium come right down to Stinger. Bad word like wow, the pan stage and police set up right there so. And nothing happen. You hear them a talk about no bad word on stage and if you get bad word on stage when they're prosecuted. Joke them a make. That's why things broke down so. Things broke down all the way because them say certain thing and start certain thing and then after I just fade behind the back and then nothing happen. That's why people continue to do the wrong thing. You know see? Because you're supposed to have security on stage continuously on a show. Me not talk about turn up on the side, you know, you can't even see the band. I tell you, you can't even see the band when I play the music to right. The security them stand up like them, I go take the mic and perform. And them I run up and down on the stage, PP clap behind the artist them. And what kind of man is that, Rasta? A Len kill a show there? No, Len, brethren. You have to go back to the drawing board, Rasta. You have to go back to the drawing board. You can't look so. Because when me hear Keshima, me hear an interview, Len, you know, and them I talk about the show, it's like, it's going to be the most this, that, and the security will be this and that. Yeah, the security is tight. Yeah, the security is so tight. The security is so tight, they have to loosen them belt. Because we never see nothing like that. I see sure with whole heap of man rush stage, but that I went 2 hours ago fight. And them friend them rush the stage. But me don't see a stage have so much people on the stage, right continuously through the show. And every artist come on have a portion of man around come on the stage. And you can't see the artist, and then the next artist grab the mic and he might perform over one side of the stage, and the next man perform. No, sir. No, Rasta. That. And people actually pay going go see it. People actually pay going go see it. This is the stepping rhythm. I don't know if Shamara can get every day or Leng on the radio and make a talk to them, because it's a concern of a whole heap of people. Yeah, man. I want to know why them cancel Sting. Why them cancel Sting? Because to a whole heap of people kill Sting never keep. And it's a travesty. Dancehall music has so much problem already. And for go put it out there, like the problem is so big that not even a stage show can keep. A whole heap of Sting go. I say, man, almost I go fight and no fight. I say people throw out that one another which is so it's supposed to go. And everybody ball out who them think win. I say buckle throw up on stage, and I say artists throw back in the audience to show them say, watch out. When I throw buckle on me fan, them throw back the buckle in there. And then ban buckle in a Sting. And come out of them ban buckle in a one show because of that incident with Super Cat. So I say it kinda weird that so much people are denounce dancehall music. And then now it showcase itself to the world. Because this thing about it to the world, you know. If it showcase to the world now, this is what people are saying out there. Apart from them and listen to the music and keep trying to wonder where I'm going to Jamaica. The more I go wonder where I'm going to Jamaica now, them so right, that's really true, you know. The thing not proper. The thing not proper. Based upon what them see. Because them can't come tell you say why you never see it, you know. Like, why? Muta never had the show, you know. Yeah, me never had the show, but guess what? My eye not deceive me. My eye not deceiving me. You understand? And people who had the show tell me where go on, and me look on the video them and see where I go on, and me say, that is unacceptable. For sure, present itself that way there. Unacceptable. So, every day, then, when I have to go back to the drawing board, Rasta, because the people them really want to see this thing survive. Because it's part of the thing too. And a whole heap of we might not agree with the lyrical contents of them people and certain things, but me nah go say, man, if a man wants to say that, I feel mine that, I feel mine. You know, if you want to go down the so, you go down the so. But at least, man, at least, you know, you can't say, boy, I don't like the lyrics, you know, but guess what, the show was well put together. I don't like the fighting on the stage, you know, but guess what? The ambience was really nice. There was no ambience. There was no ambience to that. Because every time I see a man run on the stage, I see 100 man run with him. And I see security run behind him. And the next security. Aye, sir. You know what I'm saying? Well, let's sleep in dogs lie, but I mean, this part of the whole industry, yeah, me dep on the radio, I'm an artist, a double warmer for me. And when I see them things there, it grieves me, man. It grieves me. It really, really grieves me. Well, what a thing. Now we are here every week in your artist dead. Since the month start. Since December start. Well, not artists, but artist families and things. But look at now. The day before yesterday, we hear about Joe Mercer. That them have what them call shortness of breath, asthma them call shortness of breath. And apparently my drive to go to the doctor and him crash. So we don't know if it's asthma kill him or the accident kill him yet. Then now we got hear this entertainer, the sister, remember say this Virginia is Bama grandson. Yes, and now we hear about the death of the singer, dancer, Ravetta Fraser Campbell. A Thursday that happened. Yes. 48-year-old artist passed away last Thursday at Mandeville Hospital in Manchester. According to had been really, she has been ailing for some time. What kind of ailment she have? I want to know all these things, you know. She had been suffering and ailing for a while due to abnormalities with her breast, and autopsy will tell you the death, what caused it. She is a one who used to sing with Damien. She used to sing with Damien. And we know say it kind of tight, you know, for hear that with one of the son them. And then I'll come here and next one, with the next one of the son them, somebody who close to them pass away. You know, it's really a travesty. And there's young people, what is going on? All right, so what me last know about, because I'm still depend it, you know, I'm still depend it because, as I say, I'm an artist, I'm on the radio, I play music, so I'm part of the whole thing, you understand? I say, there's certain things must be put in place before artists go up and sing. Because sing is no ordinary show. I know a normal show, you understand? As a matter of fact, sing is one of them abnormal things that go on in Jamaica. And it come back again. And it can't come back that way they always see it come back that way there. It's embarrassing and it's really out of place, out of touch. You know, whole heap of artists. I mean, yes, I mean every show now a whole heap of artists. You know, I hope the band them get good pay because one band back all 12, 13 artists. I hope they get good pay in the youth. Yes. And then now if you see where I go up on the stage there, no man, it kind of like a bitter taste in your mouth. And we just hope say the fiasco will see one and the other show don't, well, that's impossible. I mean, I say it's impossible for that look like that way there. Yeah man, it's impossible. Nothing can go so again. No show can replicate that one there. We go on so. So as we say, we hope to talk to Leng or every day. Meanwhile, Leng, why you not cancel Sting?
What do you mean?
No, we're going down the side of Sting that Rasta. We don't use that.
What you don't like? Tell me what you don't like.
All right. You don't know what the people, but you don't complain about the show.
Yeah, well, there are people that complain about different things.
All right, tell me what they complain about. You, eh? No, me not complain about dancehall this and dancehall that. It have nothing to do with dancehall, you know. It have to do with the organization of one of the biggest dancehall show keep in Jamaica. So, when I say no, on the stage, first of all, on the stage, why is it that the stage look like is the audience there on the stage all the while?
Why does it that?
One heap of people, two artists are performing and you say a million and one man there behind him.
That's only one time that happened. And it's unfair if you say that that only happened in the last 10 minutes. And you know the reason for the last 10 minutes? Because the police said they're going to lock up the show at 7 o'clock sharp. And at 6:15, the police tell me every day, get what you can get. To say if everybody can touch up before going to like that at 7 and in court we don't write down. So even the fuck away I think backstage and the thing where I see I whatever know. The show I run perfectly same way with them at the and don't nobody in the crowd don't know that. Hold on. You tell me alright. I could go further along. I could go with the two daughters them. Amari and Queenie, right? Yeah.
There was other people there on the stage with her plus security. No, not on police in the on the stage. Every artist get two people or three people who work with them go out on the stage foot there. No, but you tell me something I had to see my brethren. Wait, you tell me say hold on, you tell me say I had to see me when me say alright, two women up on the stage. And it's why they look like them all must go fight. And every time one says something, them have to run, and the other one run down her. And it's the security them the say, when the time people them have time for watch this show, you know, what kind of show that? Where security have to run down people on stage. That's not what the people request. That's not what the people request. Security the passage run down the artists them. No, wait there, the people them request it.
Upper class people them and they don't want a free ticket, they'll buy their ticket to go and see them if they're on the show.
No, hear me ask, you know, me not talk about of course people want to see them, but when I say to you, you tell me say two people are performing on the show and the security them the on the stage after run behind them PP clack.
No, because we don't know what to expect from them.
No, that you must put that in place that you don't expect nothing.
Just like with that. And that happened because
no, you know. My suggestion. You are hear my suggestion? Guidelines in the contract. Any artist we touch on it, just like one year me only say, any artist will tell people about their mother or anything, who not go do something. Any artist will really touch an ex-artist, something should go in terms of a guideline in them contract. It can't be that one artist a run and then I want to say, you want mad me, you want mad me.
This is Jamaica. Where we have one of the ice crime with almost nowhere.
Yeah, and you put it on the stage. Yes, it's a stage right now. Leng. No, Leng.
Just go back to cartel stage and tell me, say,
no, wait, no, Leng. You know what?
If I less people live on the one, this is the lowest code ever on the stage.
Leng. Well, COVID must in our head. COVID must in our head then.
Before that,
Leng.
I want the explanation because it's the truth.
May I hear the explanation, but you want to. No, the explanation. Oh, means me not say nothing about it. Hold on, no, my leg.
You know, we get so much unfair things that people say, and when we explain it, and when we explain it, and the two people don't accept the truth, what it is. Queen and married comedian part of thing, but people request it.
But nobody now say them shouldn't depend it. Wait, nobody now say them shouldn't depend it, you know. So who was the queen and married shouldn't depend it thing? Who say, you listen, you not listen?
A lot of people they them like that and they like it, so I don't mean want to do it.
Alright, may I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Me can make me talk now?
Yes, sir.
All my wife did want to leave my birthday party for go down and sing, go watch Queen and Amari. Because she like Amari. She follow Amari when Amari in Africa and all them places. Wait, no, but listen to me, I tell you, man. My wife never expect to see two women up on the stage and I roll up and down from one another. And you have security, sometimes you can't even see the artists them. Because you have security up on the stage. Which show in the world you go, I hear say, the security them come like them is the artists.
Muta, this is show business, this is thing.
No, but you can't. Oh, yeah, that's show business, Bridget. How can I show business you're dealing with?
If we never have the security out there, then we'd have a fight.
No, but we never say enough to have no security. May I say, if you didn't have a guideline, of the contract, if you didn't have a guideline in the contract, that way you say happen on the stage wouldn't happen.
Muta, stop.
When a man sees him food get threatened.
Hey, it is all good and well to stage, you know, I have agreed to it, you know, but when you go on stage and lyrics start bite, you know, a different thing.
So we have to know, if lyrics start bite, the fight we have to go on now is acceptable. We must accept that.
No, nobody else says they accept
People who are watching show must accept that.
No, we not accept that, but it happened.
No, me don't say that, but I wouldn't make it happen. I know the I wouldn't make it happen. I wouldn't put no guidelines in there. I wouldn't make it happen.
I think you should leave this and talk more about this thing.
Why not? Why must leave it?
The whole world is laughing about this.
Laughing about what? But we go up and sing. Me just read Hope a while ago. You know William Hope? Professor Hope?
Mm-hmm.
You know her?
Of course, you know her.
She loved dancehall gone to bed. You know what she just said a while ago? That you that scrap thing.
Yeah,
man. You read it to you? Eh?
She has some question to answer to me about.
No, she said only she that scrap thing. I know me one thing, so. My wife who love Amari say, what kind of thing that? You have other people that talk to other people.
You love Amari on the stage, but you can't tell them to stop sting. Is what helps so many people.
No, because it's not Uncle Amari them was the problem. It's not Uncle Amari was the problem, brethren. It's not Uncle Amari and Queen was the problem, Pansing. It never functioned how show supposed to go. And you can't tell me to the harder in a dancehall artist. It's when them go foreign, them have to abide by certain rule. Them have to come on when the promoter say they must come on, and come off when the promoter say they must come off.
You don't understand what happened.
You can't tell me that Jamaica did so anything go.
Listen, let me tell you the genesis of the thing. It started from 7 o'clock, the problem started, and I started. At 7 p.m., we were supposed to start. 8:30, not one artist was in the venue. 9 o'clock, we had 4, and we said, we have start. We were running 2 hours behind. That's what started the problem. So we make a running order, no, brother.
So if you make a running order?
No guy around here can show better than we.
No, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I wanted to make so many other artists.
Self-praise is not a recommendation, right, so?
No, to send them forward. So when they come and cry at your feet, it's hard to leave them.
Alright, I'm going to tell you something. You know me know show set? I'm going to show all over the world. You see, if a man tell you must come, you have to come up on the stage 7 o'clock. Him say you must be at the venue 1 hour before you go up on the stage. You see, when him ready to call you and you're not there, him call the next artist and then you get flapped.
No, that is for your call.
No, you get flapped. It's just that.
About 10 people don't get to work, you know, because of the lateness, you know.
Yeah, but we not create the madness we are going in the society. We not create it in our show, brethren. We not create the same madness we are going in the society. And the same madness we not promoting upon the show and say, a Jamaica this and a Jamaica this. A Jamaica, well, of course, you know a Jamaica. The Jamaica is somewhere.
So what you're talking about? We telling you about Jamaica this. I don't tell that.
No, you tell me say, I true me don't know how the thing set. And you try justify now why you tell me about Vibes Cartel now and Mavado show. Then Vibes Cartel and Mavado show wait. No we don't so. If what type Vibes Cartel and Mavado show it happen on Vibes Cartel and Mavado show. It's supposed to happen then. It's supposed to happen, don't it?
No, because that is Kingston. Guess what happened? They show when you move, and most of the artists that were working is from Kingston. It really was a challenge to them. They are young people, you know.
Challenge what? No, that's why them say that. Oh, Leng, man. Billy, Leng, you say that? Because them are young people, so that challenge for them which are watching.
They all them glad to work the show. Them should have done it from 4 o'clock in the evening.
Then why you say that challenge for them? When them are drive and a drive.
From 5:30.
Leng, I am ashamed that you're brethren. That you really say, we must know say young people and that challenge for them to reach a plantation.
I said maybe it was a challenge for some of them.
Challenge where? They might make money, you don't pay them. You don't pay them. You don't pay them. Unless you don't pay them. You employ an artist to come and show 10 o'clock. And you say, boy, I treat him young, you know, him don't know, say, him 10 or 10. Him don't know that. And you falter. You can't come here. The artist, delinquent artist, must be reprimanded. What? That's why I say that you say, but I don't mean what I told me I say. No, I am saying that there's something in the contract. Fidoa. All right, you be a man for come at your venue 10 o'clock. You have anything in the contract where I say, if him come late, there is a consequence.
There are no consequence.
You see what I mean? That me I show you. That me I show you.
People, the police going to be harsh on you. They only can give you 15 passes that to go backstage.
Yeah. And the bully and you give 40.
If them pass them can get to them friend before. I will look. Every man have 50 people backstage with no armband.
So where is security there? Where is security there? Where is security? So where is security there? Where is security?
They're coming out. 200 man, 300 man, me told at one time with 5 different artists. What me do now?
And then you tell me where you're going to do. You tell me.
Muta, let me ask you this. The people Sting is responsible for the social decay of the country. No, we are not.
No. No, Sting is not responsible for the decay of the country. But still is responsible for the decay of dancehall show in the country.
For the decay of?
Dancehall show we keep. Sting is the biggest actors in the Sting, in the dancehall. And them now is perpetuating something, and I say, if wife make a man 15 parts and bring 200 women to do, the man there is like I say, the man there is irredeemable. Then all you imply them, I know them irredeemable. A man can't reach anything because I'm young. But that you make it happen.
How?
You don't know that, brother, you don't know how. Go sit down with the people them and make them explain to you how it happen, brother. That time say you don't know how you pay a man big money for come on your show, and you tell him must come 10 and he not come, and you don't know how that happen. So, because you don't put nothing in place to reprimand him, you don't put nothing in place to say, look if you come 10, you know, brethren. Me not give you your money, you know. Are you supposed to come 7 and you don't come 10? What?
That don't mean nothing.
But me know that you say, but you is a man, watch out, as an old police, really, as an old police, as really.
And a man go up there, and when things nice, him just first.
And you don't see nothing wrong with that then. You just make it one.
Nothing wrong with that. I know my job. That's the police job.
No, okay. All right, that's the police job.
Yeah.
So a 100 man compensation cost better than anything. That not happen. Then the police then a problem too. Me not blame you. But I say it's your show. It's the buck stop when you start.
Yes.
And you the buck stop when you there.
Because when I lay down rules, I expect it to be followed. What if you don't follow?
And if you don't follow? And if it don't follow? So wait, as a policeman, if you tell a man certain things, and him don't abide by it, what you do? You know, arrest him. Consequence. No, because I say, as a police, consequences determine actions. And when I say, if your action is not keeping in line with your contract, unless the contract don't state that, that means you're on a short-sighted because you know according to how you talk, you know. And some little ragamuffin idiot artists them will not talk about. And if that is the purpose, you must put something in the contract, a guideline in the contract, that the boy when they go fire them not behave so.
You don't know Jamaica.
I don't know what keep saying, that do not say.
Them go down to Ochi, then they must be the location, they different from when they move to Jamaica.
Brethren, I'd that you say. So what will keep it next year?
Maybe right down here again.
All right, brethren. You see?
But them would get accustomed to it.
But you're not taking into consideration what me I say. You're not taking into consideration what me I say. You're not taking consideration what me I say. May I ask you? Me say anything will make sense to you? All right. Now ask you a question. Anything what me say to you make sense?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. All right, the lot will make sense. And that me I work with.
All right.
If me make 10 things and 9 of them don't make no sense, maybe the one thing will save the whole show.
We work with the one.
Yeah, it might save the whole show. So now if we go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, we are going to do that.
I don't never have no board. We never have no board.
Oh, we have right back.
All right, sir, give thanks here. Good time, God. Yeah, give thanks.
The informative information presented in this video is motivational and is positively aimed at inspiring, educating and entertaining the viewers with the cutting edge of critical reasoning. If you enjoy the contents on the Black Radar YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to show your support.
Good night. This is the cutting edge on RFM next Wednesday. The place warm, rain don't know. Gone America. As the mother said, America without the A. Well, we have a little special program inside tonight. Tonight is the last program for the year. There will never be a next cutting edge for the year 2022. We give thanks for all who stay with me over the years and give thanks for all who stay with me this year, yeah. Especially with that COVID thing, still a wonder over my head. Give thanks to who stay in them body and out of them body. Yes, some people gone in the next people body too. Don't know we're not doing a people body, but I saw its place and so it's set. Anyway, give thanks. As we have the first order this, we have 5 ones except myself. 5 ones in the studio with me. And I must say, hail up to all the ones them who come to that birthday party that was instigated by my wife, Jackie Cohen, Elena Hope. I tell you, we never want more organization like that. Head cook and buckle washer. So why you love Jackie and why you love all the ones them who did rally around her to make the thing be so sweet. This sister went at the studio with me. A long time we are trying to get her in the studio, you know, but she live a month to go behind and go like a foreign, she live still. She live at Japan to go like a Japan, she live still. She live at Los Angeles and go like she still live at Los Angeles. She was one of them who really chip in and make the thing sweet. And we have a bridging, a long time we know him. We are going to make him introduce himself still, but we are going to make everyone introduce himself. Because as I say, the program going to be sweet because each of them have a story. Each of them specialize in something, and each of them have something to say. And we're going to allow them to say it tonight. As I said, this is the cutting edge. You know, we start out the show with Joe Mensah. Now, everybody must know by now. Joe Mensah at 31-year-old, dead. You can't believe that, Rasta. We hear to the brethren have a asthma problem, and he might drive him car and go to the hospital, and him crash. So maybe it's not even the asthma. Get rid of him, it's a car crash. That is what we hear. It's a weird thing. 31-year-old Rasta, and you just start him life in a music. So, we hope your next one to him in tribute to the Marley family, who knows you feel it now because from here the thing we feel it, everybody feel it. Man, Joe Mensah, gone, I tell you, 31-year-old. You know, them really, so much ones a move. One of that is a weird thing at them time, yeah. Because you'd expect, say, is the parents them, is the children them would have buried the parents them, but no, it would come like the parents have buried the children them. It's a terrible thing, even in Jamaica. Whole heap of youth. Anyway, we're there with you still. This is the cutting edge. Before we go to the break, we want each one in the studio identify themselves, starting from my friend who we know for centuries. You know, centuries. Tell them who you be.
Hi, good evening. My name is Yvonne Golson.
That's all you're going to say, yes, Yvonne Golson?
Yes, he said introduce myself. I live in Montego Bay now.
Via Japan, via LA.
Before coming here, I spent 20 years in Japan. And then I was in California for about 18, New York for about 10. And now I'm happy to be back home.
And she there Europe with France and Germany and all them places. Yes, okay. Next sister, which is a surprise to me, when you hear which part she come from.
Hi, my name is Paula Jones, and I'm from Portugal. African descent, my parents are Caribbean. and I've been coming to Jamaica for the last 5 years. My children study here. They study in Mobay, and I always heard that Jamaica has very good education, and I want my children to be part of it, so that's why I'm here.
Okay. Oh, them say they know, say Virginia? Yeah, all right, yes.
Hello, good evening. My name is Matt Stovall. I'm from Connecticut in the United States, and this is my first time experiencing Jamaica. I am here for Mutabaruka's birthday, and thank you for having me.
Abba Zero to the world.
No stranger to this program, yes.
At all. Thank you, Mutabaruka.
Yeah.
Blessed love Jamaica. This is Ras Vane, coming in from Baltimore area, New York born. Give thanks.
So we have 5 ones, different vibes. Abba is the only one where the listeners they might know over the years. All right, we're going to go take a break. Like I said, this program has stay. We have to talk in between the break them. It's not the break them are coming in between where we have to say it's we are talking between the break. So it's really the break is the program, you know. But we just trespass upon this program. That's how we could talk to the first guest, Yvonne. Yvonne, we will talk to. Yvonne, as you used to say, she is from Jamaica, but she lived in Japan. How much years you live in Japan?
20 years.
20 years.
Short 2 months, 19 years.
I want the people them know say the other time if you go to Japan and you know go check Yvonne, them go to deport you. Because she was almost like a consulate there, know everything we are going. All right. Why you reach Japan? Why a Jamaican lady go to Japan?
What actually happened was in 1990 I was involved in a terrible car accident, and I'm a legal secretary, and the damages resulted in me not being able to work. I couldn't type or move my arms a lot. So I decided to go to the local college and do some refreshers course. And I wanted to do subjects I'd studied before, and French was one of them. And the morning I was going down to register, I stopped at a friend's house. It happened to be Tony Johnson, who did the Sunsplash store.
Original
yes.
Sunsplash store, yeah.
And I was telling his wife, we used to walk in the mornings, and I was telling her that particular morning I was going to the local college to do this course in French. And Tony said, why don't you do Japanese? And I said, why? I don't have any business in Japan. You're the one who goes to Japan, so your wife should study. So we both went down to the college, and she was a little bit reluctant and asked me to join her, and I went to the class.
You join her in Japan?
No, in the class,
to
enroll in the class.
That was in LA?
Yes, in LA. So I did French and Japanese. Yes, and the thing that attracted me to Japanese is that it sounds a lot like patois. As a matter of fact, there are a couple of patois words that it's pronounced exactly as
like, for instance,
like baka. We say look back at the door, look
behind the door, that? And the same thing means that?
No, it means idiot.
Baka in Japan means idiot?
Idiot in Japanese.
That means nobody that calls you idiot all right.
And it's funny, that particular word spurred me to write a Japanese patois dictionary, because I had Japanese friends that I met at the college and introduced them to reggae, so we'd go to shows together, and eventually I started inviting them to my home to eat. And one of them heard me, my son asked me a question, and I said, look back at the door, and when my son walked to, he says, Yvonne, why are you speaking to your son like that? And I said, what do you mean? He says, you call him an idiot in front of us. And I didn't know the word at that time. And I said, really?
Yeah.
And then I started looking at the similarities in our pronunciation and the words that, like how we say ja.
Yeah.
When I used to go to class, ja is like a pause in Japanese. Like it'd say, oh, well. And the teacher would say, oh, ja. And in the back of the class, I'd be saying, Rastafari. And I was the oldest in the class. I was a grown woman in my late 40s, and all these young kids would burst out laughing, and the teacher never knew why. So I kind of had fun in the class. In any case, I started teaching those two people patois words, and I knew how to write. There's a style in Japanese that's called hiragana, that it doesn't involve the kanji signs like Chinese. It's a different style of writing, but with that style of writing, hiragana or katakana, you can write foreign language words in the way you want a Japanese person to pronounce them. It doesn't, it's not a word or anything, it's just strokes you put together that brings the sound. So I could write any patois word, and a Japanese could say it exactly as we do. Yes. And I started teaching them until over a period of time I had a couple thousand words, I think.
Yeah, this is interesting now. You stay in Los Angeles and learn that.
Yes, I learned Japanese in college. I learned
in LA.
Yes, in LA.
So that means, hey, people, you must hear what she say, if you hear a Japanese say baka, you must know say that you have to take up a stone.
No.
We can't cut it back out, so you go there and say baka, and if they say baka, you say, oh, and that upon IRFM tell me say, baka means how cuss say. Anyway, so that is what carry over Japan.
Yes, but I compiled enough words that I thought I'd put together a dictionary.
Yeah.
So I wrote this dictionary both in patois, English, and Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote it in the 3 styles of Japanese. So the Japanese could read and understand what the word meant.
Yeah.
And the way I wrote it, they could pronounce it exactly how we pronounce it in patois. And then from the perspective that Jamaicans who knew patois could also learn Japanese. That's the style in which I wrote it. You have one in your house,
That's great, man. I never know say it's LA, you do all of them things.
Yes, yeah.
All right.
So
you go to Japan, go live.
Right. I went there, as a matter of fact, with the Tony John, the Reggae Sunsplash group, because I didn't want to go by myself with this book, and Tony invited me anyway, and he before he left, he wanted to introduce me to a publisher, but there was one word in there which I won't say on the air that turned out, I can say it we use punani. There's a lot of those words in the song, and I translated in Japanese, and it turned out that it was a woman who read the draft, and she was very offended and said, we can't put that word.
All right, so where in Japan, what that mean?
Punani?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right.
Oh my God, it's the word.
Okay, whatever.
Which is kind of a word. Yeah, that's there.
You serious?
Yes.
You see all language here?
Right.
The whole language that?
Right.
Yeah.
So for us, punani is nothing. Everybody says it, but for them, they're very...
It's a different thing. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So, when will it come upon Sunsplash? Is the Sunsplash ready upon when me and...
I'm not sure if it's the one. No, maybe I was already living there.
Yeah,
when you came, I was already living there. Yeah. But I'd gone as a visitor.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the Japanese really loved reggae. And walking down the street, in the boutiques, you'd hear the reggae being played, but it was always the vulgar dancehall music.
Yes.
That's because they didn't know what was being said.
Yeah.
Right. So it inspired me to go home and put this dictionary together. Yeah.
I remember when we were in Japan, I used to carry me go one dance in one club.
Yes.
I would come see about 5 Japanese girls walking, and I say, wait. Them in a hot, what do you call it?
Hot pants.
Hot pants. And the same thing when the dancer girl look away the rasta. And it's when music start play. You don't think say Jamaica there?
Yes.
It's just that say, them couldn't be a Jamaica, a Japanese there.
Right.
Or you tell the difference between a Japanese and a Chinese. You can't, when you're down here, when they're Jamaica, or you tell the difference between a Japanese and a Chinese. I
don't always get it right. If I don't hear them speak, there's a different look, especially with the hair and the eyes. The Japanese tend to have like almond-shaped eyes. Yeah. And the Chinese are a little bit more...
The eyes gone round the neck.
No, yes. There are certain things you can look at, but I don't always get it right. It's just like how sometimes you'll see an African, and they're not in African garb, but maybe just something about them. Sometimes it's maybe just a look on the face or something. You might say, I think that's an African.
It's very interesting because I don't think Jamaican know the difference.
No, everybody's missing.
Everybody are Chinese.
Right.
Yeah, everybody are Chinese. Yeah. And I think the Japanese them vex about
They don't like it, because the Japanese and Chinese are not.
So what you find with Japanese where you find, say, 20 years ago, you must learn Japanese, so you never, I'm not Japanese husband.
No.
That's an answer.
That's not my style.
Yeah. All right. What you find with the Japanese, because I know they make everything where it big get lickler, electronics thing, that. What is it that Japanese do? Why them is so pronounced all over the world? I mean, like electronics. What is it that them?
I think if they're outside of Japan and people see how that they interact, like for instance, at the World Cup recently, and it happened before at a game, they talk about how they clean up. Yeah,
them clean up the whole stadium.
Right, they carry. I don't know if they did the whole stadium, but they at least do their area.
I can't believe it.
Yes, because in Japan people don't litter.
No.
Like even a piece of candy wrapper, you put it in your purse and take it home if you can't find somewhere to dispose of it. Yeah. So they're extremely clean.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, yeah.
No dirt up, no.
Right, and everything is polished, and
we take a train. I don't remember which part we take the train from Tokyo to another place. Named the Bullet.
The Bullet train, yeah.
It feels like it's an aeroplane, man.
Right, the speed at which it goes.
And the seat them look like first class seat.
Yes, very comfortable and very high level.
You usually take that?
I love to. As a matter of fact, when I first went to Japan, I bought a monthly pass because as a visitor, you can take this pass that you pay a reasonable amount of money for, and you can travel as many times as you want from one point of the island to the other. And I used to love to go to Osaka.
Yeah.
So I would get up on a Sunday morning and use my passport to Osaka.
On the bullet.
On the bullet train, and eat and come back in the evening. I'd go up north to Hokkaido. And, yeah.
Well, if I bullet somebody at Jamaica, man, people that reach a buyer before.
From Kingston to Mobile will be like 5 minutes.
No, because we have a trade go over here.
Yes.
We have to cook food and
right.
have to drink and be put like that. 8 hours, you know. 8 hours from Kingston to Mobile. I tell you.
Yeah.
Me never really realize that 20 years ago yesterday.
Mm-hmm. 20 years and 10 months. Yeah,
all right, so, all right. We are with you up on the cutting edge. We are talking to a guest here, and we are talking to Ivan Olsen, who, as we are saying, live in Japan for 20 years. We never even know so long she lived there. All right, so why you come home?
I reached retirement age, and actually, my background is a legal secretary, so I worked with a law firm for 13 years.
Where?
In Tokyo. That was my job. Yeah. And I was the supervisor of, and I had like 35 secretaries that I supervised. And as technology was getting more advanced, I was the one who was required to write manuals and to teach them and all that. And I just got to a point where I felt like I didn't want this kind of responsibility. So I retired early. I don't want to say my age, but
yeah, well, I don't know.
Right, but at age 60.
Your age nice.
Yes.
Nice. Yes.
And one of the things that I used to do while I was working, whenever there were any food festivals in Japan, I promote Jamaican cuisine.
Yes.
So me and the Jamaicans that were there, we had a little organization called the Association of.
So you was at a restaurant?
Yeah, that was after, as a result of doing these food festivals.
Yeah.
So when I decided to retire, I had enough money to open a restaurant. And one of the things that I didn't like, there were a few Japanese there who were who had what they called Jamaican restaurants, but all they cooked was jerk chicken. So everybody thought that was all we ate, jerk chicken. So I wanted to promote the expanse of our cuisine, right, yeah. So I retired at age 60 and opened a Jamaican restaurant in Harajuku. And very popular, hard work. And I ran it for 5 years, and it was tough because I didn't have the support that I needed. You know, like even I trained different people from Africans to other Japanese people, and I had one Jamaican chef, but he wasn't very dependable. He was a good cook, but not dependable. So a lot of the work was on me, and I've been working already for 42 years as a secretary. And to suddenly stand for 10 to 12 hours,
yeah, give away your age, you know. Yeah, give away your age.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So after having a sedentary job for 42 years, now I was standing for 10 to 12 hours a day in a restaurant. Right. So I at one point developed blood clots, you know, and they couldn't find it. There was just some tests. I had pains in my leg, and some tests showed that I had a little clot somewhere. So they just kept me in the hospital for a week or two and gave me blood thinners and say, well, you can't be standing for so long. So anyway, 5 years into the restaurant, my uncle, one of my favorite uncles, got ill in Florida, and I always promised him that I would come and take care of him when I retired. And he kept saying, when are you coming? When are you coming? And I decided to get someone to manage the restaurant and go to spend time with him.
In Florida?
In Florida. And my plan was to spend 3 months and come back in 3 months. But the first 3 months was a disaster. And in terms of who was managing the restaurant. And then within that same time, my uncle passed, and it was such a shock. Because I didn't, the way he looked, and, you know, the fun we were having together, and I was, you know, giving him herbs and cooking healthy food and so forth. And I was just so shocked. That
so what you do after you left Florida? You come back to Jamaica that
after
time?
I left Florida, I stayed there for a year, and then I went back to Japan to completely close down the restaurant because nobody, I wasn't able to sell it. You know, people wanted to take it over and maybe pay later. And that.
So you still didn't know that?
No. I closed it down completely. And I took whatever equipment or I could home, kitchen equipment. And I wasn't planning to come to Jamaica. I wanted to live in Florida, but then the lizards, they scared me. I couldn't take the
but
lizards.
More lizard inside that, so?
No.
Don't say
that, Buta, you know already how I feel
about it. Lizard. Anyway, all right. So you're in Jamaica now.
So I went to Texas with my granddaughter, and I didn't like it there, and I went back to LA, where I'd lived for 18 years, but I couldn't afford to live there anymore.
You know how old is what? You're 40 years, 20 years.
Old enough. Well, I'm a great-grandmother. You know, I have 4 great-grandchildren. You know how many years? Huh? Not quite. Not quite.
All right, so me could see. All right, so me could come to where they are Jamaica.
So I came home to Jamaica to spend 3 months before going back to wherever I was going to choose, and I thought it was going to be LA because everyone was scaring me about living in Jamaica, especially coming from Japan where it's so safe. You can go to sleep and leave your door unlocked and all that. And I came for 3 months and never left. I'm going into my 7th year.
So you're there in Jamaica now and
6 years.
You occasionally go back to LA.
I go to LA at least twice a year.
Where you go LA for?
Because I have children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. So that's where my family is.
All right, well, it's nice to have you home.
Yeah, I love being
and I'm
here.
very glad
and
that
I'm always at your home.
And I'm very glad that you live at Mumbai. That's the time I do have no tell to say that I can't come here.
Yes,
and last 2 o'clock in the morning because I can't find my cook where you live. That's nice. Anyway, give thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Give thanks and give thanks to come up here.
That wonderful birthday party.
Jackie and thing, and it was sweet to see you. I work with Jackie and, long time friend and thing. Yes. Anyway, give thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, this is the cutting edge. We don't start to Ivan Goldson. You see, you're 20 years or so. 42 years or so, 18 years or so, 11. What kind of one is? No one that's a whole one. I should go like the youngest one. Okay. You seem to having fun. All right. Your interview done, Ivan. Your interview done. So, we're going to go to a virgin where I'm not telling you, say, all the while, years. Him amongst you, and the first man ever talk so much. First man ever talk to make him introduce. As a matter of fact, he might promote show with me in a Baltimore. Make him introduce himself. Yes, Virgin.
Yeah, give thanks, Mother. Blessed Earth Strong, big up on the Earth Strong and the beautiful birthday party festivities. I give thanks that I open up the home to me, and my early journeys to Jamaica helped me fall in love with this place and help give some good guidance in the cultural tradition. Jackie and you, friendship from those times till now has been very special to me. And it's been over 20 years since I brought you up to Baltimore to bless up the place, Culturally, people still talking about the show, so hopefully...
People still talk about the show with me, though?
Yeah, man.
Then I know about 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Then the people are dead now?
No, sir.
Still them out?
Still them out.
Still them no long time.
Yeah. So, just coming into Jamaica in 1999 for the first trip. It was a beautiful trip. It was also traumatic. One of my friends, Jamal Hakim, he was in a car accident and lost his life.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he did. And the island, it still had a very profound... it left a mark on me. It was something special happened at that time because I traveled to different countries, but it's something about Jamaica that brings me back often. It really feels like home even more than the States does a lot of time.
All right, me ask you something. I remember you did have a plan with some, I don't know if it's prefabricated house to make out a sandbag. You remember that venture there?
Yeah, so far I've built 3 in Jamaica.
Explain to the people about the sandbag.
The technique is called earth bag building. It's a rammed earth technique. So you take soil and you put it in a bag and ram it down. And it is bomb-proof, bulletproof, fireproof,
bomb-proof,
flood-proof, termite-proof. That's what they use in bunkers to build bunkers. Yes, they use sandbags, earth bag, dirt, or sand. And it has something called a thermal flywheel. So the hottest time of the day is coolest in the house. So when you're in a climate like this, you don't really need air conditioning.
I remember Westmoreland, you did have one. Westmoreland was a time.
We built 2 in Sheffield and 1 in Little Bay.
So why that venture there kind of failed out? Why? Because I think it was a great idea.
Yeah, it was a great idea. You have to live and learn. So I didn't build these on my own property, and that was So I was the first one. A friend, was interested in putting something on the property in Little Bay, and I was self-taught. I read some books and I studied online, and he gave me the opportunity to build something down there, and Little Bay land has some, so he wasn't able to actually complete that project. And then in Sheffield, something similar, So,
all right. So explain to me now, because obviously it's a cheaper way of building a house.
Yeah.
And you say it's bomb-proof. It's not bomb now, really drop that something. Bulletproof.
Fireproof.
Termite-proof.
Rotten-proof.
Yeah, all right. So You can build a 3-bedroom and all them something really. 2-bedroom or just 1 room like an igloo.
No, you can build as many bedroom. It's just you can't build very high because the bags are very heavy.
Oh yes, yes.
So it's one level. That project was inspired me to a point, and it is definitely less expensive than having block and steel. There are some environmental impacts, of using a lot of topsoil. It's very labor intensive, but it's still very good. Since then, though, I've been studying more about bamboo living, bamboo, because Jamaica's full of bamboo.
Yeah, but bamboo, no bomb proof, and no fireproof,
None of that. But it is the most sustainable building material on the planet.
The Chinese, them know that.
Yeah, and in Bali, in China, in Thailand, in certain countries that they use a lot of bamboo. It's very sustainable.
And it bend with the wind, too. It don't break because wind not blow.
No. Yeah. And the thing I think in Jamaica, why it's not as popular as it is in other countries that grow bamboo, is that the treatment. There's a process to treating it so it doesn't mold, so the bugs don't eat it. And once you master that, then you have a very, very sustainable, good, beautiful.
I hear the government did say they must start promote the planting of more bamboo. I don't know if it's the right species of bamboo, because I know it's not every species of bamboo where I take that rugged thing, You have to know that from the Chinese, though. The Chinese is some people where. But I will put Chinaman there, I can't show them how to it.
Jamaica has some very good bamboo, big bamboo is strong, it grows.
Yeah, big bamboo.
That builds a good house.
On the cutting edge, we are going through the PSs, we are talking to my brethren. We just reach a big bamboo business, that's what I laugh at. I don't want the video laugh, but I don't want them to, I don't want I got tired of laughing, All right. The bamboo versus the sandbag. You not go for the sandbag, you just go for the bamboo instead of the sandbag?
No, I like the idea of a blend. Like potentially a first floor with the earth bag, keep it nice and cool and can go up with the bamboo.
With the bamboo?
Yeah, or I like the bamboo also for open air spaces, yoga studios.
Yeah. So which part you that carry out that, like a little mock-up model plan? Like when you have a little model of the sun thing, where we go down at Westmoreland there. Which part?
Yeah.
You see anywhere where you could have, not on government land, well, anywhere you put it no matter.
Yeah, I might have to do it at your yard.
My yard?
Yeah,
well, you don't capture the land if you do it on my yard.
Yeah,
I don't know nothing. So you want to do it up here?
Yeah, I was looking around today, actually.
You don't look at my yard already? You don't want to try and capture the place. You don't use it.
Yeah.
You don't want to use it, Rasta. You want to scout out the yard to put bamboo. We can't trust you further, You come capture people, I don't know, but we have to capture land. So, which part you still live in Baltimore?
Yes.
I want to treat Baltimore so Virgin.
True.
At the worst place never go in America,
Yeah, Baltimore is rough, man. It has it's a lot of systemic situations, just like a lot of big cities. A lot of problems worldwide where the people just don't have what they need to flourish. And then when that happens, then you get substance abuse. You get different types of crime and things coming in.
Yeah.
It's on the rise. I would say there's a little cultural movement as well as an arts movement.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people coming from Philly and DC and New York and stuff. Because the land end up getting cheap. Everything gets blighted and people coming in starting to develop and everything. So looking for a better future for Baltimore, hopefully.
It's terrible if you say this. Was it down in America, I know when we reach the black area, them. At the Dutchess parties, people stand up on the side of the road and drink this and that. And you know, say, well, we reach the black area now, you have to watch how you're driving your car and hold your pocket and all them, because them area there no easy. You see when Flatbush, you have one side of Flatbush is black and cross over the other side of Pure Jew over there. Right? And when you go by the Jewish part, it's nothing compared to where you go by Flatbush. I said, white have to look that way there. White have, Chicago are the same thing, east side, west side.
The same in Baltimore. They have a very ghetto area named Park Heights, and you get to one point, it's all Jewish at that point going further, I don't know if you remember what you said to me about Baltimore when I first carried there.
No?
Yeah. You said Baltimore looked like it's Vietnam or it's been in a war or something, So much abandoned buildings.
What are they saying for true?
Yeah, yes, sir.
But it look like we're for true.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And what are the house look like nobody living there? You see 2 man walk come out of the house, people living there, so. Anyway, I realize you start to travel a lot now outside of America. We talk about Peru and all them places.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what gravitates you towards Peru? Because it's not everybody that say, come to Jamaica and then say they want to go to Peru. So we talk about Peru a while ago, you mentioned the things that you gravitate. Explain to the people then what it is that.
Yes, sir. So about 11 years ago, I was about 16 years ago, I was introduced to a plant, a master healing plant that comes from the Amazon named Ayahuasca. And at that time, I didn't know anything about it, so I didn't really gravitate towards it. And about 11 years ago, I got a chance to experience a ceremony with this said plant. And the journey that the plant took me on was, to me, very healing. It really opened my eyes to certain things, certain ways that I was living that they could use improvement. And, you know, we had a ceremony with a shaman. And
you mean in Peru?
No, this is in the States, in the Catskills upstate. This is before I reached the Amazon. You know, I just realized the intelligence of the plant life and the healing aspects, because everybody that came actually had a very good experience. And that led me to several other ceremonies between, you know, Virginia and New York, Pennsylvania. And then I just started to grow an interest, like a calling towards this plant to learn more. So I went to the source, which is Peru. There's a tribe there called the Shipibo tribe, and they're the first to discover this medicine. We went up into the Andes, you know, like Machu Picchu area, Intihuatana, up topside Cusco, and did some ceremonies there with different shamans from around the world. And then I came back to the States, and that really sparked more interest. So then I ended up going to the jungle, to a town called Pucallpa, a small city in the Amazon, and started to learn with the shamans there. And more recently to another town named Iquitos, and I started to personally study with a master shaman named Don Enrique Lopez, who's been carrying this medicine for lineage for generations and generations, you know.
So what you study with him? What you were studying?
So
you study about the plant, I study about the spiritual connections where him a guy like a guru.
Yes, so there's a little bit of both. He's a teacher, he's also a shaman, and we study about the ayahuasca brew, which is it's the yahe vine, the ayahuasca vine with the chacruna leaf. They make a brew, and this brew is you drink about a shot-sized glass, and you have a journey, you know, like a vision quest. So we don't just learn about ayahuasca there, we learn about different purgatives, we learn about different herbal medicines, we learn about different plants, trees, flowers that exist in the Amazon. The Amazon is very potent land for healing. It has, you know, 75% of the pharmacopoeia, all of the drugs on the planet that they come up with for any kind of ailments, they're sourced in the Amazon, the majority. So, and these ancient tribes, they've been working with these plants long before any of the modern medicines have come. So they know exactly how they work, what they're good for, you know, which ones are dangerous, and which ones are also not just healing for the body, but also for the spirit and for the mind, you know.
You know, always, you know, look and realize indigenous people always have plants and herbs where them use for healing and for guide them and them thing there. And then white people come in at the picture and make the thing get so weird that it become a drug. You see them do it with ganja too?
Yeah.
But it's that there, so all the while and white people come and come control the ganja them, and no, you can't even get no ganja again. 100 pound for a pound of ganja. You say, but wait, which part were there? You know? So it's like, same thing with Peru, when we say the white people make me know that the Peruvian calendar was the authentic calendar of the ages, you know. I don't know if you did hear about that. The Peruvian calendar. They say, this is where the world is going to end now. That's about 4 or 5 years ago, I hear that, you know. The world's still there, you know. And we still there, and pick that out them something there. And white people just spread the whole thing around the place, like, why them love take over people things so? It's a weird thing. Anyway, white people go them take over the thing and go like that for them own. You know? But I'm glad they are going to the Peruvian mountains then. You know, you say Amazon, not think Brazil, you know, but you talk about Peru when you say Amazon, right?
Yeah, so we travel along the Amazon River.
You go Brazil?
Not yet.
Yeah, because when you say Amazon, I think Brazil all the while.
Yeah.
You know, but I say, them do it down in Australia, them do it on so with the ganja, and you find out the cocoa plant when you go to Colombia there. You know, we go to Colombia and I'm going to give me a portion of the leaf them for carry to Jamaica. You say, what you talk about, man? You must carry the leaf them come to Jamaica. You say, yeah, man, just put it in your luggage, man. You say, it's all right. You better keep that up there, so. The man come and show with no fight, you know.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I say, them have it a way because them people that don't see it as dangerous.
Not at all. It's actually it's a very beautiful medicine, the coca plant. You know, it's been taken and it's been manipulated to where it becomes addictive to people. In Peru, it's totally legal. The old women, they drink the tea. If you go to the supermarket, they have chewing gum, they have granola bars, they have, you know, energy drinks, they have smoothie mix. You know, it's
why people always come with the thing, make the thing look evil. You know, them throwing it and twist it through, make the thing just start to get evil, and you start to say, what do them people do? Like Jesus. Them just turn Jesus into another thing and make the thing look away.
Just like the ganja until they find a way to control it.
Same thing.
Yeah, and then
they make the money and we gone down and go with it. It's a terrible thing. But I'm glad to see you still. I'm bridging with the monks from a longer time, and you stick with my wife, you don't stick with me, I understand that. Well, we'll start watching you. If I have a wife, I still got that talk the whole time. But at the first time I ever talk, how long you come months? About 20 years.
Years, Bridget, more than, I think, 1999.
It's so long the man come months, and at the first, I remember still get some talk, so, you know. Before start, we have my glasses more, you know, because so I go on there. Anyway, we give thanks, Bridget. We give thanks for you really come on here, so. I really sit through the birthday part and spend a hand this one. I love that.
It's
so everyone realize and throw on in there, you know.
It is a blessing, man.
Yeah, man, we give thanks for that. Yes, the Virginia, Baltimorean. Yes. Anyway, this is the Cutting Edge on IRFM, and we are telling you about different aspects of different ones. So, and the Virginia, the AI I want to talk next time, you know. Believe you me, the AI Virginia, where am I though? But I put on camera, little man. I want to go beat your feet, you know. I want to talk to the Virgin about the because I look why we are reason and the Virgin come at the party as a cameraman. Which part do I come from?
Yes, thank you for having me. I flew in from Hartford, Connecticut.
Hartford, Connecticut.
Yes, that's where I live, and I grew up there and started doing photo and video work when I was 13 years old and started doing it professionally at 14. And I've grown up with cameras and computers and had the privilege to be involved in technology since a young age.
All right. You know why I'm going to talk to you now, because I really want... I talk we talk a while ago before we come on here, and we touch on the chips them and the AI thing, and we just say, well, look more from this. Everything we have is obsolete. All them computers are going to be obsolete. iPhone. As a matter of fact, right now, iPhone seems to be going obsolete. You know, them have some things I know where I take over from iPhone, you know. So, when I hear him utter certain sound, I say, wait, the Virgin knows something. So, I really want to touch on where you know, as a cameraman, as a man who takes so much picture of a party and look like you're going to sell it, and you know, like that. You know, see?
I'll give you a percentage.
You see, no? I'm not sure with white people, you know, like that. I saw them stay, you know. And I'm going to bring him down to come and exploit me, you know. But it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not tell you, it's weird when a youth like that all passing at them time in life, you know. It's just weird. Enough people that lose them picnic, as me I say, one of the things say is the picnic them would have come bury the older heads, but it come like the thing reverse in this modern time, you know. It's the old people, them are bury the young people, them. And we find that in every aspect of life right now, you know, with the whole heap of poison going on and, you know, accidents on the road and, you know, the killing, gun crime and them something there. It's granny a burial them grand picnic. Can you imagine that? It wasn't supposed to be that way, but this is how it is. So it go. Who going to stop it? Who going to stop it? Because the more you talk about it, it seems like the more it gets up there, in your face, brazen in your face too. This is the Cutting Edge on IRFM. We want to tell you that we're going to come back here at 2 o'clock. Tomorrow, 2 o'clock p.m. with the stepping razor, the art of war. We give thanks again for the people them who stay with you. And we realize, I worry about the people them who come at the party and I never know them. It look like the people them who were invited to go at the airport to pick up somebody and decide, says, them just say, make them come with somebody come at the party. Because I see some people that come from all different strange parts of the earth where me even never go yet. Them go for them and bring them and I introduce them. This is one. I don't go Russia, I never hear somebody come from. I go Russia, believe you me. I mean, I love for Putin too, you know. Yes, we're there with you. I go through the things and times. All right, so we're going to talk to this bridge, you know. where saying come for the party to do some camera work. I guess is about invite him to come do it, and if he goes them do it still, because at least we have the footage them there as posterity for another time. But him say, come again, Bridget. Introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Matt Stobble.
Matt what?
My name is Matt Stobble. I'm a photographer, videographer.
Oh, sorry. I never turned up the mic. Go on.
Yes, my name is Matt Stobble. I'm a media producer, photographer, videographer from Connecticut. I grew up in New England.
All right. So what your camera work is your profession?
Yes. Since age 14, it's been my profession. I started on film and hit the timing right. So when I was in high school, everything transitions into digital. And so that's why my expertise kind of transcends just cameras, and it's also with computers.
From which movie you do camera work? Probably can identify. Tell me.
No particular movie. I mostly do commercial work and documentary work.
Okay.
And I don't really promote my name up front like
no
that.
Hollywood movie.
No Hollywood movie, no.
Okay. All right. A while ago was having a half-year reason before the program, and we mentioned about somebody sent me a poem of mine, and it's a robot to read my poem, and I can't believe it because usually you'd read the poem, but my brother tell me about apps where the computer, instead of reading something, the computer you have this app so you can press the button and there's something read it for you. You know what the apps are, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's one of them apps. I realize it's one of them apps that you use, but this is where the intelligence reach now. Then now, it's two things that I mentioned. One, them have some incubators now where are breed children. That means the woman don't have to carry the fetus in her again.
Yes.
Them have it in a machine and them get all the nutrients that it need and all the things them when it's through the umbilical cord. And the woman can say her baby dead so and she can go on about her business. And then this is her baby. It sounds frightening and scary, but that's how it go. Then you have the next situation now where it's most unbelievable that, well, man like him don't want to sleep with a woman again, they have him a robot. Why a man don't want to sleep with a robot? It's kind of weird. But then it's not weird to certain people because what them call transgender thing is what's happening now. You know, man going to a bathroom where a woman's supposed to be. And 50-year-old man has say I'm 14 and he want a 13-year-old girl. That's a pedophile right away. If a 50-year-old man I tell you say him is 13 and he might live out a 13-year-old life and he want a 14-year-old girl, you can't carry him go to jail again for people because say yeah, stamp up on him privacy, him right to choose whatsoever. So it kind of get mixed up, but then that is where it go, and we have to really say it go in some serious artificial intelligence. And you say, explain to me about this thing when I mentioned about the incubators them.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, so that's the most important topic, bridging the gap between computers and information technology. So that's what's going to happen is AI is going to affect biology, and our biology is going to become a form of information technology that can be manipulated. And so it's hard to picture how we can control our biology without putting wires and creating like a computer inside of us. But what's going to happen is it's genetic engineering. And so it's just like how we've genetically engineered the food. We can do that to our own DNA. The only thing that's been stopping us is the complexity and advancement of the artificial intelligence, where it's at now, and it's growing exponentially. And so some people wonder why it's so important for these large companies to be collecting our information. We know it doesn't feel good, but we wonder, I don't really care if they know this or that. I'm not doing anything wrong. So I don't really care if they're collecting my information or not. But what's going to happen is when you have enough information on enough people, so picture they have all the movements and decisions and buying patterns of everyone collected over time, and you cross-reference that between billions of people and their DNA, you're going to be able to find out exactly which DNA you can move around to make people taller, shorter, faster, smarter, stronger, weaker, and that's going to be an option that we're going to have to deal with. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that this is being done to us by some shadow party, and it's they, and it's and we don't have control over it. And I don't believe we have control over the inevitable advancement. It's happening, but I do believe that this is a really important time, and the genetic engineering of humans is going to be the biggest thing in my lifetime that we see. And I do believe it's up to us to talk about it. And I don't know if it's necessarily government policy. We don't see that always working, but It's about humans coming together and educating each other and deciding what we want this to look like in the future. Because just like right now, in vitro fertilization, in vitro is, in-dish fertilization in a lab where they take the sperm and the egg and you then inseminate the woman. Now you can choose, which embryos are strongest. So you're actually choosing, instead of just going with the embryo that got inseminated naturally by the sperm, you can look at all the embryos, choose the strongest ones, the ones that are least likely to have disease, and then this is going to be driven by competition. And obviously the first people who have access to this are going to be wealthy people, and then the gap will continue to spread. And in the future, what you're talking about with the babies actually being born in the womb, in the lab, that is the next step. Just like right now, how there's a percentage of a chance that a woman or the baby will die at birth, once it becomes technically more efficient and safer to grow the baby in a lab, and then there will be a position of calling the woman or parents irresponsible for even wanting to do the natural birth, and that's how we will be pushed in that direction.
All right, I say something, because the incubator we are talking about, where them have, where them claim say it is made specifically for countries who the population is not going up, like Japan. Them say the population go up enough, because what you have now is that older people live longer, so the workforce can sustain older people, so them have to have younger people now to develop it. And even in France and certain countries in Europe, where them actually have paid people to have children, and them say that is where them are created for. But we know these people, because them will wipe out certain people who them say is useless eaters, for really develop them idea of a new breed of people. As you say, if it's stronger, if it look like them more, where them not have to spend certain money upon you if you do certain thing, them just get rid of your embryo and then just deal with the stronger one. And sometimes the stronger one is where them claim is the stronger one, not necessarily. We know them things, they go in the race war and the race fight, them where the white people always dominate the thing and black people seem to be the problem all the while. So it's really white people that make the thing them, when we look on it. And them recruit certain little black people in it still, but it's really white people that create them thing there in the earth. So we know, who knows that them do, have to really figure it out, because we can't just dance and sing and continue to dance and sing and make these guys come manipulate our life away. See, and that is really what we are saying. We understand what them are doing, but are we going to do something with what them doing? Because when it boils down, it's survival of the fittest. And we see that they movie, There are a long time the movie are showing these things, And we are saying fiction. It's not no fiction again. Cell phone, they didn't last in space. Remember Last in Space? We used to come on TV. Is it by them time there? You don't know about cell phone. With Chandler. Them used to have a TV showing them Last in Space. It's a black and white movie on TV. Last in Space. Where the man them took out them cell phone, and that like that about like 50 years ago. And now 50 years after now we see cell phone. And now cell phone is becoming obsolete. People must have wondered what Muta talk about, but don't you know the cell phone will come obsolete? They might go and tell you something new, them have to take over.
Yes, the cell phone will be built inside of us,
Yeah, they have a cell phone now, so yes.
First a small microchip, and you're like, how would you control it? We're going to be able to control it with our thoughts, and just like you turn your head and you pay attention when you're listening or looking at something, you'll be able to do
look how the youth them have now. The youth them, it's some little low thing I go on with the youth them, where scam them. The youth them have equipments where them can put it by you, and them can track your movement. That means them follow you. Them see say you live that way there, and them follow you, and them say, all right, that's what you live, all right. And them know when you're not there in your yard. Because them look on for them things, and see the tracking on you, and know, say, all right, them left them yard, we can go broke them house.
Yeah. Who you're with, how long you talk to them,
yes.
How long you look at.
Which part I didn't make the phone call from, because even my phone, when I look, I'm see when people are calling, I know exactly where them are called from. Which parish them did they call me, even if they have a Kingston number.
And this is still, that topic is still the hardware, and maybe the hardware will get small enough to get inside of us, but it's still a little different than this genetic engineering of humans, which is the manipulation of DNA. Still going to take hardware to make that science happen, but this is the end of natural selection, and I do think it's because humans want to move forward, get better, get stronger. It's pushed by competition. That's why some people in the world might take advantage of these things more, because they because they have that spirit to compete or dominate
Yeah.
or whatever that is. I don't think it's just, like I said, one shadow group with a human eugenics vision that always can be a part of it, but this is really everyone. It starts with safety. Everyone wants their children to be healthy, less disease, be smarter and stronger, and people are going to use this for their advantage.
That is what them do. Them
Yes.
say the disease, them going to make you immune to disease. See, I don't know if you hear about Elon. Everybody know what Elon Musk. Elon Musk said by 2024, where we now, 2023? 2023, he might have chips we can put in our brains to rectify certain disease.
Neuralink, yeah.
What you call it?
Neuralink.
Yeah.
That's Elon's company, and yeah, that's where I kind of get this from, with the starting with safety, because they're getting their investments from, we're putting in this chip into your skull, and it can send electrical signals and prevent things like Parkinson's, like brain stuff.
Alzheimer's and all them.
But it's the same technology that then they're going to take and be able to increase IQ and things like that.
You see, the problem is, we have a problem now. How we fight against that? 'Cause if a man make something that can make your elder people them don't get Alzheimer's and don't have no brain damage, it would be a better thing. But then you wonder about if you want it really, because it's like you caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Because you really don't want to see your elders them I walk up and down the road and don't know what them are doing and can't say certain things. And if them a make something can prevent that and prevent you from not having certain faculties, you that's a good thing. But knowing for them devious ways and things, you wonder, say, maybe people should just go and have Alzheimer's and go and sick and them things, and when you go, and when you stay, you stay. But it kind of, I don't know how fake that. Oh, you see my virgin as a youth out there, so you're the youngest one. You're the youngest one. Tell me how you see it. I matter. How you see it.
During certain times, they bred the biggest and the strongest, and that was a foolish mistake, If we had only big and strong, Haile Selassie wouldn't have come forward,
Yeah, but what I'm saying, would you prefer to see, suppose say your parents have Alzheimer's, and you have something can prevent them Alzheimer's.
Yes.
Like the chip where Elon Musk talk about.
Yes.
Well, you'd have me to put it in our head to make you prevent it.
So me personally?
Yeah, you personally matter.
I'm a naturalist.
No, I ask you if you'd ask them, say, don't make sure have Alzheimer's, put it in our head that it can don't make sure have Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I personally don't think so at this
time. You don't do it. You don't make
sure
sure go have
Alzheimer's. I'm
Alzheimer's.
not challenged with that.
So you don't want to have the Alzheimer's then?
Well, I don't have to make that decision at this moment.
No, Bridget, it's a hypothetical question.
Yeah.
Right? Suppose you have the decision for your elder grandmother forget about herself, forget herself total, forget you, and for have her and remember you like a normal person.
Yeah, I think in the moment I probably would go for it.
Well, at the moment we are talking about, I know you shouldn't have it, so at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's very difficult for you to make a decision if you don't see it happen. But I don't know who the one say, but you want to have the Alzheimer's, Bridget. See, and they say them catch way. And they say them catch way, because them know them play by emotions, they don't want to say, no, sir, I don't want to see my grandmother or my mother I walk up and down the place and I don't know who me is. I'm done at, you know who this? And I say, it's Barry. And you're Sharon. You know the way it's like, it's just weird. If Barry becomes Sharon all of a sudden, and you say, you're not used to play up the down, and then your children, them know who have certain disease, can't function. Them have all sort of this, and them are going to prevent that from happening. And nobody tell me say them can't prevent it. Them can't prevent it. Because we see them prevent things from happening. See it? And them create things and make it happen when it's not supposed to happen. So it's a weird thing. So Rich, the man go back on the camera right now. Maybe I don't talk to you, just that I want to give a younger voice.
It's my job. The more footage I get of you, the more money.
Job is all right. The man. The man is a problem child, Bridget. The Bridget is a problem child, that's not.
All right.
So we are talking about the idea of Elon Musk and him thing.
Yes.
Oh, you see man go Mars go live.
Say again?
Oh, you see man go Mars go live. Because they might try to run from the earth, they might shut the earth to go to Mars go live. But say we are black people now get to go there. You good to get to go there, but we now get to go. Oh, you think that should happen?
I don't have an interest in it, but I think he's just looking really far into the future. I just value...
They want to colonize outer space.
It's not something I have interest in, but I do believe he's going to be successful in that, or the next person will be. I don't think it's far-fetched.
Yeah, but you see that thing where, all right, if you had the chance of doing something to sustain Earth and make Earth be more livable for human beings,
yes.
and to go to Mars where you can have space. Come on, can't really live on Mars, you know. All the way them are going, you know. Not like Earth.
The identical technology we're advancing for all these things, not just the money we're spending on it, but the exact technology itself with this AI can completely be used for good, for positive, for regenerating the Earth. You can cross-reference all of the information on the internet, give the question you have, and then you find a new piece of information, you cross-reference again, and it will build. So AI computing is just massive amounts of information being able to process quicker than the brain. Our intelligence is not going to be replaced because human intelligence is much more complex than just information processing, but our ability for information processing has already been surpassed in certain ways by computers. Our ability to just scan through massive amounts of information and cross-reference it with massive amounts of information instantly and always have that available.
And AIs don't complain about work. No. You can't have an AI worker so clean the house, wash the clothes, this and that, and them don't want no break, them don't want no lunchtime, and them don't know how much money I give them.
But with that, talking about physical limitation of the human body, there's also a physical limitation of hardware. All of this does take hardware. So I'm curious, Muta, what you think about just technology with the natural resources, particularly these discussions around cobalt, batteries, the sustainability, the labor that goes into this. I was curious your thoughts on where we're going with this, with hardware.
Well, I can't make it like the cell phone, because from you get a cell phone, they not change the battery up to now. So it's not like them couldn't make a battery where it's ever ready. It's always ready, you know, and put it in the AI and make the battery function. All right, cut the land. You don't cut the land, all right, it's that tree, they want to leave the tree. All right, clean the house, you just clean the house, clean it again. You know, then when they go cook the dinner, them thing there. AI now complain. Yeah. And it's not them I don't know because you're going to certain supermarket. That's them in England going to supermarket.
I think one
particular... I know catch here, no, there.
One particular area in the hardware that we're facing right now that's the most difficult is the use of cobalt in batteries.
Yes.
We're getting majority of our cobalt just from the Congo alone.
Terrible.
And there's no such thing as clean cobalt. It's all unsustainable and toxifying the center of the continent of Africa there in the Congo.
And children are used children for reap it too.
100%. So we have to look into other solutions. If not cobalt, are we just going to find another toxic material to exploit? But it's a massive problem. We need technology. We love technology. We're using technology for good, and we have such a detachment when we have that phone in our hands or driving the electric vehicle that takes 1,000 times the cobalt per battery in the electric vehicle as the phone. And so it's something we really have to look into, continue to educate ourselves on, and make good decisions in the future.
So where's human beings in all of this now? I mean, after them do all of that and do all of that, the people them who create these machines and things, what are they going to do? Yeah. Because the machine, you ever see the movie named Planet of the Apes?
Yes.
This is a movie that with Charlton Heston, where him come in a place and him say, apes is like human beings. And the human beings that treat the apes that treat the human beings like apes. Yeah. And it's not half of the earth in the den. It's the earth, you know him says the earth. You don't know him know says the earth in the pencil. It's going to go up on the beach and say the Statue of Liberty and push out of the sun. Because him thinks he must find a different planet, you know. And then the last part of the movie, them show you say, but him never leave the planet because the Statue of Liberty is sinking at the song. But the ape them was riding horse and feeding them children, and it's like ape help them to get where. You think it's going to reach us all?
Yes. This week you turn 70. When I turn 70, I believe the whole world will be covered in humans of all different sizes and shapes, and intelligence levels, and I have no idea what that's going to look like.
Maybe them have no flesh.
If we're going to reach a more stable point, or it's going to be even more conflict.
Yes.
I hope for the best, but I really believe it's the biggest change I'll see in my lifetime, even bigger than you seeing the internet come to fruition.
The internet going to be obsolete.
No, the internet is just the electronic communication system. So.
No, that's the internet. I mean, as we know it now.
As we know it now?
Yeah.
I totally think it could, and I also believe we had technology more advanced than the internet. It just looked differently. I do believe we were able to communicate with people across the planet instantly before through other methods, and I do believe our creation of this technology is particularly actually infringing on our ability to get back to that point. So there's probably some things about this man-made wire internet that is better in some ways, or does things that we couldn't do before. I do believe we're getting further.
You remember start to use our AI, you know. You remember start to use our AI, you know. I look at you, I want to feel like I want to feel like AI, you know. Because I say, the AI, you know, it start look like an AI. I want to be you. You give me some of that, something there. You never give it on. Eh? You never give it on. I will start to fix me and look at what I use our AI. Me adapt. No. Anyway, it's a serious thing, no. It's a serious thing. So what the flowers and birds and trees and all this. How that fit into the new
I truly
world?
believe this industrial revolution is just we wanted more and more and more. That human nature of continuing to want more and greed, that could continue. But we really do have the ability to use this AI technology to make everything more efficient. I'm enjoying driving right now because I'm not when I have kids someday, 10 years from now, it's going to be illegal for a human to drive. It's going to be 1,000 times safer to have the self-driving cars.
Self-driving cars, yeah.
So, and I do believe the Earth it could be greener. It could be, because right now it's just a web of asphalt,
concrete and steel.
Everyone has their own vehicle that emits emissions. So, I do believe we still have the opportunity to go into a direction of, more sustainable, regenerative world.
This is we want to talk to the sister here now. We're going to introduce yourself again, and then now we're going to talk. Okay, so introduce yourself again.
Hi, my name is Aura Jones. I'm from Portugal. I was born in Portugal.
You was born in?
Portugal, Lisbon.
Okay.
And I have been coming to Jamaica for the last, 19 years. The
19?
First time I came to Jamaica was 19 years ago, just to visit. And I fell in love. And then I came back about 6 years ago. So my children have been studying here for 5 years, over 5 years.
So what kind of work you do?
I work in design and interiors and fashion. And
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
You and Jackie can get on quite good, man.
Of course, we've been talking all afternoon. I've seen some of our collection, which is really, really good.
So that's what you do in Portugal?
No. I actually have been working in England and in Bermuda. I used to live in Bermuda in healthcare. I work private with clients who suffer from...
So you jump from fashion design to healthcare?
No, I actually been working in care for the last 15 years in England, and then I started to do in Bermuda privately, and then and I took an interior design course in England and home furnishings and upholstery and everything, and then when I moved to Bermuda, I was introduced to fashion. I did a few fashion shows in Bermuda, and that's how I started. Yeah.
All right, the people can't see you, but I have to describe where I'm going to the studio now.
Okay.
He's as black as night. And
black?
you say you come from Portugal.
Yes.
The Portuguese was one of the first set of people them who enslaved African people.
True.
When Columbus go there, and I bought them from Genoa, them travel as a sailor upon the boat them up Portugal. And a whole heap of them carry the African them cross the Sahara Desert. Whole heap of African never reach on so. The people feel say don't go the transatlantic slave, but you have the Sahara Atlantic. Atlantic, sorry, you say Sahara Atlantic. The Sahara Desert where them carry the African them go through. And the Portuguese. How the hell a woman who black as night come in front of me and say she's Portuguese? Explain that to me.
Okay. My family is all African.
Yeah.
We have some mix with Europeans, but my parents immigrated to Portugal in the 70s. So I born in Portugal, but we are 8 siblings. So only 2 of 8 born in Portugal, and the rest born in Cape Verde Islands. But one of my sisters, she moved to Portugal when she was a baby.
So where your parents come from? Which African country?
Cape Verde Islands. When Cape Verde became independent from Portugal,
Where?
a lot of Cape Verde.
Oh, Cape Verde.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when Cape Verde became independent in 1975, a lot of the Cape Verdeans moved to Portugal to work because they left the country in a mess.
Yeah.
So, and we all mix, in Cape Verde we all mix from the rest of Africa because Cape Verde was a port for slavery. They bring the Cape Verdeans, they bring the Africans from different parts of Africa,
Yes.
and they bring them to Cape Verde, and then they sell them to the rest of the world, like America, South America, West Indies.
And
So we
Brazil
all
was one of them
mix.
favorite places.
Yes.
The Portuguese, Brazil was one of them favorite places.
True. So Brazil and Cape Verde, they have a huge relationship. There's a lot of Brazilians in Cape Verde Islands. And we actually, Cape Verde has direct flight to Brazil.
Yeah.
So there is a huge relationship. And our culture is almost the same, with the exception we speak Creole and Portuguese. And even our dialect is more similar to the Brazilian Portuguese than the Portuguese from Portugal.
When you talk in Portuguese, people think so you come from Brazil.
No, it's totally different.
The
English.
Creole different.
Yes, it's like English from the States and English from England.
Yeah.
So the Brazilian, they speak more beautiful with the melody. In Portuguese, we speak more like...
It's like how the Asian them talk French, but the Guadeloupe who talk French, you understand what
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Portugal, the history of Portugal, I don't know what kind of history them you grew up in a history, but what is the history of Portugal that you know of as a woman born in Portugal? I don't want to say
What do you mean, history of Portugal? I mean, my history or the history?
No, Portugal, because you say you're born in Portugal. And I call you Portuguese, but as I say...
I would say I'm more like an African Portuguese.
Yeah, so what is the history that you know about as a black woman who...
You see, I grew up... at school, they don't talk much about the history, the slavery history. We know how we got to Portugal, but they don't... It's kind of a taboo. Now they talk about it. When I was a child, you wouldn't hear about anything to do with the Portugal... bringing the Africans, or we immigrated to Portugal. We didn't.
Yeah, but what you hear, just tell me, what you hear about Portugal, being a person who born in Portugal, what is it? Like, I hear about English history, I hear about Jack and Jill run up the hill, I hear about Queen rule, Britannia rule, British will never be slaves again and all this thing. And that them was the Portuguese and, this is weird, the Portuguese and the French and the Dutch was the main players in slavery.
True.
That is what we come find out now. But I guess when you're in a British colony, most of the things about Queen Elizabeth I, most of it come about Queen Elizabeth I.
I'm terrible at history.
Yeah.
I'm awful. Yes,
so that's why I'm asking, what is the Portuguese history that you know that is not about African thing, but Portugal itself?
Portugal itself.
Yeah, what makes Portugal so dominant in a world history?
I mean, the Portuguese were very good sailors. I mean, they discovered beyond Africa. They were in Asia. They were, there is a book, I forgot that, I think is 77. I don't remember. But they were in China. They were in all those places, but they didn't conquer that area. So they went beyond Africa. Why did they went to Africa? Because it's the closest to Portugal and to Spain. So for them, it was really close to go there. But they were very good conquistadores, the Portuguese and the Spanish. They were the best sailors, But they were ruthless. They were very ruthless, and they were very.
I think that is how Columbus find himself there, because being a man who was interested in sailing, he was part of that voyage that got into the slave trade with the Portuguese, and then end up in Spain too, as you say. I will live for Portuguese end up in Spain. But most Africans outside Africa live in Brazil.
Yes.
Brazil is...
I've been to Brazil. I've been to Bahia.
Bahia. Oh, gosh, man.
Salvador.
I love it.
Yes, I loved it.
Yeah,
It was like being in Africa.
Yes.
A lot of history, of course. And the thing, when you go to Brazil or other ex-Portuguese colonies, you see the Portuguese history there. You see the architecture. It's all Portuguese. If you go to Brazil, of course, to Angola, to São Tomé e Príncipe, to Guinea-Bissau, to Cape Verde Islands, they have the same. They kept the architecture. They kept the colonial buildings, which it kind of brings a beauty to the country, but it also brings a lot of pain.
Memories.
It brings a lot of, because even when slavery stopped, they continue.
Well, most of the colonies, did happen.
I think there is a little bit of a difference between, like the Portuguese were very rough, but at the same time they were kind of the first to give a name. If they would have children with a slave, they would actually give them responsibilities, and they will set them free. And they were the first ones to accept. We call it mestizo, the mestizo children with a black woman, and give them. I don't know how to say in English, and compare it to a lot of the Spanish, the Dutch. They recognize, and they were the first one to marry the black slaves after, and make them equal, because you would see a lot of if you would go to Cape Verde or even Portugal, a lot of them, even through the slavery, they were. I think they gave them a little bit of more of a status, even knowing. I'm not finding excuses for them.
No.
I grow up with a lot of racism.
I just want to give you the history of Portugal. So,
yes.
You can't tell me the history without being...
Exactly. So they kind of started slavery, and yes, they were very ruthless. But towards the end of slavery, before the end of slavery, they were already starting to give land to the children they had with the slave women. And they were starting to marry the women and give them land and give them a status and give them... to make them comfortable. So in comparison to the French, in comparison to the Spanish and the British, they became a little bit more, maybe because they started, I don't know, and they become a little bit more humble to it.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you now, was it that, how your parents, all right, how old if I was from Jamaica, run go to England, because we see England as the motherland, so-called. Was it the same with your family going to Portugal because they see that Portugal was the motherland?
Yes, because that's all they knew.
Yeah,
that's all Portugal owned Cape Verde for hundreds of years, and we speak the language. I mean, we have Creole, which is a broken Portuguese and African. But then that's all they knew. So all the opportunities was in Portugal. They speak the language. They didn't speak English. A lot of them, they didn't have the education. And other European countries was not as open to them as Portugal. So, and I think in those days, you didn't even need a passport. You could just go.
Go, yeah.
You know,
like England. When you supposed to go to England.
Yes, you could just need a pass and go.
British subjects from the Commonwealth.
And in that time, a lot of the Cape Verdeans and from other Portuguese colonies, they would go to study in Portugal. They would go to get an education, because not everybody could have an education. So we have a lot of, we're always going to have history with Portugal, even today. We have, I think Portugal is one of the strongest ties, whether it's Angola,
Mozambique,
Guinea, Saint Tomé.
So how you reach Bermuda?
How do I reach it?
Yeah, because Portugal, Bermuda, that's so like...
Let me tell you something. 25% of the population in Bermuda is Portuguese.
Oh, yeah?
It's from Portuguese, from the islands.
Bermuda, I never know that.
I didn't know that. I ended up in Bermuda. I didn't know that till I went to Bermuda. I needed a change, and so I applied for a lot of jobs because I needed to go away. I wanted to experience other countries at least for a year. So I sent my CV to a lot of countries outside of Europe, and Bermuda was one of them. Yeah. And I got an interview, and it was to work in a restaurant in Bermuda.
So you just end up in a Bermuda working in a restaurant? How that work? You just end up in a Bermuda working in a restaurant?
Yes, I did, but the owner of the restaurant came to England to interview me. And he interviewed me, but he didn't tell me anything. There was a lot of Portuguese in the island, basically white Portuguese from the Azores.
So you could relate to them because you talk Portuguese, you relate to them?
I did, but I didn't know. I didn't know anything about Bermuda, so I ended up in Bermuda. So after I was in Bermuda, then I found out that it was a lot of Azorean people lived there, and a lot of them went to the bar, went to the restaurant. Yes, yeah. And so in Bermuda, in those days, was a little bit of thing between the black Bermudians and the white Portuguese, because the white Portuguese have been in Bermuda for a long, long time, because they went to replace the work that the Bermudians didn't want to do. They brought the Portuguese from the Azores.
That's a fireplace to bring them from.
But they treated the Azoreans like they didn't treat them as whites. They treat them like the blacks.
Oh, yeah?
So they went to school with the black Bermudians. Okay. They live around the black Bermudians because the white English didn't see them as white. So now it's different. There is a little bit, now you see more mixture, but also the Portuguese didn't like so much being around the black because, it was really messy. So the Portuguese find that they were above the black, and then the English find they were above the Portuguese.
What's a terrible thing? Classism and racism. All right, so I'm going to ask you now. You went into fashion design before you go to Bermuda, or you go to Bermuda and then
No, in Bermuda, because when I went to Bermuda, I was into interiors. I was working... I went to Bermuda. I went to Bermuda for 1 year, basically. It was
just... Sound like Ivan. You sound like Ivan.
This is what happened. I used to live in Sweden. And,
no, really? Wait. Rewind.
Okay.
Where you live and go Sweden?
I was in a relationship with someone in Sweden, so I was living in Sweden for...
So where you live and go to Sweden? Where you was when you go to Sweden?
I was studying and living in London for a few years.
No, but there's a map. All right, wait. You're born in Portugal.
Yes, I was born in Lisbon.
After you left Portugal, which way you go?
When I was 19, I went to London to study.
You went to London?
Yes.
And then after London, where you go?
I went to Sweden.
And then after Sweden, where you go?
I came back to London for a few months.
And then you go Bermuda?
And then I went to Bermuda.
And then you reach Jamaica, you know? I have something between that.
No, after Bermuda, I was in the States for a short...
You go America?
Yes.
She better than you, Ivan. Ivan, she better than you, I tell you. She better than you, Rata. All right. So you go to the States, and then where you go after?
My son born in the States, because my mother's side of the family lives in Rhode Island. My father's side of the family in Portugal, and of course all over the place. And So my son born in the States, so I there for a while. So I commute for a while, for a year, between the States and Bermuda. And so I married a Bermudan man. I have 2 children with him. And then the relationship didn't work, so I went back to Portugal.
Okay, so where the fashion design come in now?
I was in Bermuda, actually. I started the fashion in Bermuda because although I started to work in a friend of mine's studio. She's a fashion designer. And she had a studio where she did alterations for weddings and stuff. And they were coming up, and I was already doing designs in Kenya. Which I traveled to Kenya quite a bit. And I was doing some work in Kenya, buy a lot of fabrics in Kenya.
You reach Kenya now?
Yes.
Where will it end? I look on this bridge now, and I say AI, and I look on you and I say I'm model, You used to model?
No.
But when you design, you used to show your things them on the catwalk. Or...
Yes, I started because I started anything to do with designs because when me and my husband separated and I went to England, and I always had a passion for interiors, more than fashion. So I decided to take an upholstery course in interiors, all that stuff, because I had the time. I was working full-time, but at the same time, I wanted to do something that I loved.
Yeah, and designing was what you do.
Yes, exactly. So I was buying old furniture and restoring chairs and stuff like that, and I started to have this obsession with fabrics.
You sound like a cross between Ivan and Jackie. It's a cross because Jackie have obsession with designs and fabrics and everything like that. She definitely got this at that 20 years, 10 and go back 5 years and at the same time.
I mean, Africa has some of the best fabrics. So for me, going there, and Kenya has beautiful fabrics.
Oh gosh, man, them nice, man.
And some of my best friends are from Kenya, so I started to go there. I started the first time I went with my partner that I was living in Sweden. And then I just continued to go by myself to see my friends, and I started to buy fabric to do my upholstery. And then when I started the fashion in Bermuda, I decided to continue to do, I had seamsters and tailors in Kenya, and they did all the work for me.
Yeah. So you're going over that now, why you still do it?
Well, I actually did a fashion show in New Grill 3 weeks ago, and the theme was fashion.
So you never called Jackie for coming on there?
I didn't know Jackie at that time. If I knew Jackie, I
Okay.
just met her for the first time, thanks to Alba Zero.
But say, it's weird, there is no more African cloth on the West Coast, except for Senegal,
Mali.
Yeah, but
Nigeria.
The place where people used to go like Ghana and Nigeria, they don't have it's Chinese and Holland print.
It's true.
On Kenya side, real African print there.
There is. It's a lot of Chinese.
Yeah, Chinese there, but you can't find African print. In Ghana, you can't find African print.
You can't find it in
Ghana.
In Kenya, you can. You still can.
Yeah.
And I love the fabrics from Kenya. I buy quite a lot, and I have quite a few. And so far, they still, because they have the manufacturing fabrics there, so they actually do them in Kenya. So, but a lot of the shops in Kenya, they started to buy from the Chinese because it's cheaper to buy from China and Pakistan than from Kenya because it's more expensive. So some of them are starting to buy from the Chinese. But you still can get really quality fabrics.
In Kenya?
You still can.
Not in Ghana.
I didn't know that.
Here, look here, I'm going to tell you something, it's weird, Did you know, you see the mat them, where the Muslim them spread out, and I think you see some out the house here, and pray upon, in a Senegal, Gambian place, made in China.
Wow.
The prayer mat them, where them spread out, and it's made in China. When me and Jackie go in our market and I buy a portion of them in a category there, when we turn them on made in China, pure plastic, I says, what is? And all of them use to pray upon. So we don't know how China factor into that. But now we see the African print, the same fate there, where there's no African print in Ghana, apart from if you go to Commerce and they say the Kente cloth them. And if the Kente cloth them, the Chinese them twist it around now and say that Kente print.
Exactly, but you can see the difference.
Yeah. So the Asante them weave it with them hand. Them have them weaving with them hand. The Chinese them just usurp it now and just make it a print.
Yeah,
and everybody wear it and say African print.
Exactly.
It's weird. So, all right, so when you say that Jamaica now?
Yes.
My kids have
been, no, I come and go, but now I...
Where you come and go to? I have to ask you that now. I have to ask you that where you come and go to.
Oh, well, I go to England, and I go to Portugal, of course.
And you come back to Jamaica?
And I come back to Jamaica.
So like how much time a year you come to Jamaica? How much time a year you come to Jamaica?
Well, I stay as long as I want to, because my children are here, so...
Oh, yeah?
Yes, they've been studying here for 5 years, so...
Where are them studying?
Mobay and Herbert Morrison.
Okay, all right. We have to go find some work for you, man.
Well, I am going to spend more time here now.
Yeah, we'll go find some work for you. I share time? Yes.
The time on IRI FM is...
Yeah, time is 1 minute past 1 o'clock, and you're on the cutting edge with the attack to all of the 5 ones we attacked inside, you know, believe you me. And so far it has been very interesting. I must say, it's the first time I have 5 people in the studio one time I talked to them. And the little time I talked to them, it's very interesting. From the Miss World, around so we travel the world, Japan and this, to the next Miss World again, where she's supposed to win, man. She every time you say top 2, I know, say, well, I was in England. Yes, I was in France. Yes, I was in Bermuda. I say, wait, look at that. It's Miss Universe. Yeah, yeah, Miss World.
Actually, when my family calls me, or when my friend calls me, the first thing they say, where are you now?
Yeah,
Which country are you now? We can't keep up with you. So,
if you go out there, man, no, but if you look at a job, you come from Portugal, you must lie or tell.
Nobody can tell if I come from Portugal.
No, but if you tell them that, they must say lie or tell. And now I'm Jamaica, Portugal, you know white. Because that's the perception, you know. You know, if 2 black people could have left and go somewhere, go have a big day in a white man country like England. You know, when 2 Jamaicans left Jamaica and go to England. And them say them are British, but them not white, you know. So we have a way to sneak up on them. We sneak up on them so much, you know, that we are go across over the track and bring one of them pick me over the side of the track. And they can't even figure it out. Yeah, man, we give thanks, you know.
True.
We give thanks to meet you, give thanks to see you. And
thank you.
Yeah, man, we hope say you get a wider perception of Jamaica. If you come in to town now. You come to town regular, right?
This is my kind of first time in Kingston. I've been to Kingston before, but it was just passing through. I don't know Kingston till what Abaziro has introduced me.
Yeah?
Yes.
What is Abaziro?
Abaziro basically is the first person. I've
come to Kingston?
Yes. I've been here, but it was just a pass through. It was just
to pick up that's not right, man. That's not right. Ivan never moved here now. It's the first time you meet Ivan?
It's the first time I meet Ivan. It's the first time I meet everybody in this room.
Well, the 2 of them will connect now.
Yes, definitely.
She have a big house.
I'm just going to go and crush at our house.
She have a big house in Montego Bay, trust me.
So, like, I cannot go to another country, I just go to Bali.
And if you come to town...
And she have a big one, too.
Oh. She have a bigger one? You know for her house?
Oh, she has... No, this one, there's nobody in Montego Bay have a house as big as her.
Well, it's not my house.
Yeah, how about that one? Mr. Fair house bigger, you have to she have a bigger one. But you know Fair house.
I can tell you this.
But you see I know Fair house. She say I know Fair house.
She's being modest.
No, she not be no modest, man. She not tell me no lie. Sister, you don't have no house at Kingston. Anytime you come to Kingston. You understand?
Okay.
Yes,
thank you.
anytime.
Thank you.
All right? And I know that Jackie will go down and listen and she say yes.
You're scared that me and Jackie are already planning which country you're going to go next?
This is a cool one. It's not going to be because this brother here, at 20 years, I come over here and the post. And the post me and attack. So that's how I'm going to attack. And then this white brother with the camera across the road, that's look like he walk up, take over the thing. Anyway, give thanks, Brett.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Really give thanks, man. Nice to meet you, and it's the first I meet a sister from Portugal who is black.
Really?
Yes. Last night, I mean at the party, I meet some people from Europe there that, why them European they always tall, rasta them woman there? Them tall, you know. That means weird. Some of them just come from the airport. I never invite them there, but I never invite them, but them bring somebody who we invite. I mean somebody bring them who we invite. It was nice. Yeah man, give thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, cut about living in a polite state, and it's true. You them call an what them call it? State of emergency. Well, last night, them call an state of emergency for 14 days. But now I take the people off of the road. Neither the police nor the thief will come off of the road. And the murderer still have plan to kill people, just like that. And we'll for dance and party about the place. And that now will stop. They have to find a different way to do it. Okay, we're talking about Zero. Blessed man. Well, you look like a cold brethren.
One perfect love, Mutabaruka.
You cold?
A little chilly, yeah.
Okay. A little chilly, yes. Yeah, thank you, Shane, thank you. All right, so A long time I come to Jamaica. I mean, when the last time you come?
September 10th, 2019.
19. Oh, that was before the COVID.
Yes.
Okay. So you go other places, though? Because when them call you say Israel.
We go to Israel.
Okay. Yeah. So where long are Israel?
We just go to Israel for the love of being
in Israel.
In Israel, and the love of the Jewish tradition.
The love of the Jewish tradition.
Culture.
Okay. So what is the Jewish culture where you love long? Tell me.
Just the spirit of Jewish people in Israel, Ethiopia.
No, explain to me. The Jewish people in Israel. What's the difference between the Jewish people in Israel and the Jewish people in Manhattan?
The Jewish people in Manhattan, or wherever you are as a Jewish person, Israel, there's a certain connection for Jewish people. Maybe not for certain liberal Jews, but for Jews who are like from a different place.
What the Jews them in Israel, it's the same apartheid Jew them all the Palestinian them land. So what is it that you find interesting in them culture? Well, but as far as I see, apart from that thieving culture them have, but the Jews them really have a apartheid system of going amongst the Palestinians.
Well, when we speak of Israel, we're not speaking of Israel just from one context. So the politics of Israel is one thing, but there's so many other aspects of Israel. It's not all Israeli that represents oppression for Palestinians. The government of Israel, there might be forces that perpetuate certain element of dysfunction, disunity, but Israel and the vastness of Israel wouldn't just be limited to the statement that you just made.
But the Israel, but it's not for them land. I mean, whether or not them some Jews represent something else other than what me I say. The people them at the panel land and always say them is Jews. Israel is not for them land.
Well, if you want for me to be in the context of politics of
no, then no politics we work with you, so you don't talk politics. I don't want to get involved in a Jewish politics.
No, the way you sound, it would, for me, it wouldn't be my observation of Israel.
No, all right, hold on. We're not talking about observation, we're talking about history. We're not talking about observation. Because in 1948, I never born. So I say the occupation of that piece of land is an occupation given to them by the British. The people who live in Israel right now, we call themselves Jews. Most of them is Russian and German ancestry. And I said to you now, say, it's very difficult for a black man, say, him not involved in the Jewish politics. When we can see with our own eyes the repercussions of them occupying that land. All right, welcome forward. Yes, we're there with you. Half year. You know, so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about it. I can't let it go down here there. Tell me what you really are telling me about the Israeli them. What you really ask about the Israeli them.
What I'm saying to you is this, Mutabaruka, non-apologetic. There's oppression that has been perpetuated on the planet by many different forces. You live in Jamaica, and it's an oppressive political structure, system, but you are here.
But you say you don't want to get into the politics of Israel.
So let us not talk about Israel.
Like it's a part of the government.
So let us not talk about Israel then, because...
But Israel me that talk about...
If we're speaking of Israel, I am saying to you, with the oppressive force that exists in the politics of Israel, which I know that there is discrimination against Palestinians, I am saying to you, I am also experiencing something in Israel with Israeli from another perspective.
But I can go to England and feel comfortable in England too?
Yes, you can.
So what that mean?
And
So
I'm
what that
saying
mean?
to you, when you go to England and you know that there is oppressive forces in England, but also if you are not able to experience England from the space of speaking truth to power, and yet understanding...
Then who not speak truth to power when I'm in England? Me not change my voice when I'm in England.
No, it's not a matter of changing...
When I go to Israel, me not change my voice.
It's not a matter of changing your voice, Muta. It's a matter of me saying to you, you have black people born and raised in England under the monarchy of Great Britain and have experienced a lot of oppression and still maintain even aspect of admiration for England.
Of course.
Okay.
I will black people do that. So what? So
So what I'm saying to you is this. I am not one in the politics of Israel to make it sound as if Israel as a country and the politics of Israel, that it is just built on oppression.
But it is built up on oppression.
I am saying to
you... The Prime Minister right now is one of the most oppressive Prime Minister in the world.
Okay, you can speak of Netanyahu.
You know, you're the president.
I am saying to you, you can speak of...
And the one before him too.
What we're not going to do now is this. Netanyahu has issues. Okay, and destructive issues. I am just saying this to you. Netanyahu has issues and destructive issues, okay? But I'm saying to you, Mutabaruka, non-apologetically, the destructive force of Israel, at this given juncture of Israel, the best that we can do in speaking is to say this. Israel cannot be judged just from Netanyahu.
No, but we're not judge. What are Netanyahu judge him for? Is the politics of Israel not judge and not Netanyahu?
The policy.
The policy of Israel is a party against the Palestinians.
Okay, Mutabaruka. With that said, I will look at you and I'll say this to you. I do not call Israel an apartheid state.
Yeah, but you're not going to call it because now you're take up for them. You take up for them, Bridget.
Okay.
Well, you're free to talk against it. You're free to talk against it because you go up Israel all the while.
Well, look,
you're free to talk against it.
Look, Muta. For me, I'm looking at you now and I'm saying this. I would rather us speak from the perspective of how did Israel come to be that a group of people from Russia, the Ukraine, or Europe holds the influence that they hold.
Because Britain give them it. 1948, Britain give them that power.
Why did Britain?
No, it don't matter why Britain give them it. Britain is a colonial state for go around the place and rob and thief and murder everybody.
Okay.
Simple.
Okay.
So Britain give them that power. And now them are the same thing when them say Hitler to them are do the Palestinian them. Because them complain say Hitler killed 6 million people and I accept say Hitler killed 6 million of them. But you will turn around after you go through all of that other cars. And then now you have played that game for a net set of people. And then you sit on this one and I tell you, so you're not wrong with them politics.
Let me ask you something.
No,
I'm looking at you right now and I want us to look face to face.
No, but you want to, you want to, face to face, man, upon you. You say, not try to figure out, oh, you're gone, now we're there.
So here where I am with what you're saying, okay?
Yeah.
Now,
me hear what you're saying,
Mutabaruka, I'm not going to allow you to make it sound as if the politics of Israel.
You say you don't want to do the politics of Israel.
No,
you don't want to do it.
But that's where you.
I'm not just saying.
This is where you are agitating.
Yeah.
And because you're doing this, I am sitting here saying to you, non-apologetically.
Non-apologetically, what? What not
I stand for Israel.
Yeah,
and what I stand for of Israel, I am saying this to you. It's not the injustice that I am just...
All right, tell me where you stand for Israel. Where you stand for Israel. I don't know how you can get out the politics out of Israel.
No,
so tell me where you stand
for. It's not getting the politics.
If you look at the Bible, Israel in Egypt is a politics.
It's not getting the politics out of Israel. It's just saying to you, Mutabaruka.
So you don't want to deal with that aspect of it?
This is not what I'm saying.
All right,
I am saying clearly to you this, okay? The land of Israel, Palestine, you just expressed was given to the Zionists by America, and you said
I never mentioned America.
Britain, you said England. You said England, but we do know that history have proven that America is involved in and England is involved in the Balfour Declaration. That Great Britain wanted to step out of Palestine, Israel, and whatever bargain made with the Ottoman Empire that the British should go in. And I am saying to you, when the British got there, you cannot tell me that there were not European Jews that lived there.
European Jews. You say I know European Jews live there?
Huh? You said it was Palestinians' land.
No, listen to me now. I'm saying no. The land that is now called Israel is occupied a set of people near Russian and thing, and them is running the people them who them go they go see half of the land where it's not for them one. No, I can't say no the Palestinian land too, but the main fact is that them go they go see the Palestinians them, and now them are develop a party system against the Palestinian. Whether they're Palestinian them is Jamaican or Chinese, them go they go see the Palestinian them. And now these people who come from a next set of place, because them feel say them control the whole place, them going now to go develop a apartheid system against the Palestinians. So I can't go say, I now deal with the politics. I'm a black person and I know what that's not
What
South
does
Africa.
black person, when you say a black person,
me African, I mean African, I mean see them doing that South Africa.
You black Mutabaruka as an African, are you looking at me and telling me that Israel for black people
Israel
doesn't have any foundation?
Black people don't have no power in Israel.
Mutabaruka.
Black people don't have the politics. The government of
Mutabaruka.
The government of Israel is not consistent. Yes, sir.
Black people.
Yeah.
In the language of black people.
African me I talk
I
about.
would love for you to
African
know
me I talk about.
I am saying African just the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I am saying this to you.
Yeah.
If we should go right now to Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, and you're showing me real power that black people hold in the politics.
Why you bring them country there? We don't talk about them country there.
No, but I am speaking of power.
200 million people in Nigeria. The president of Nigeria is a black man.
Mutabaruka, it being a country that has a black leader doesn't necessarily speak to me.
Which place Nigeria are run in a party system? Which country Nigeria was a party country?
Nigeria running a country in a party
system. But I talk about Israel running a country that is developing a party against the next group of people. Just like how them go down to South Africa and run a system against black people in a party. It's the same system and run Israel against the Palestinians.
Let me ask you something. In the language of apartheid in South Africa,
you say you're not doing politics. You say you're not doing politics. Yeah, all right, in South Africa, yeah.
The politics of South Africa.
Yes.
That Nelson Mandela was in prison for how many years?
Nelson Mandela is idiot. Nelson Mandela is a big idiot.
Okay. And then now Mutabaruka, from Nelson Mandela to where we are today in South Africa. Yeah. Where we are today, Muta.
Yes.
Are you looking at me and telling me that there's been something better or stronger than Nelson Mandela?
No, I said the system, even though it's not where it reached, it's better than what it was.
Okay, Mutabaruka.
And
this
party.
Is what I'm going
because
to say.
The black people they fight to get to that party.
This is what I'm going to say to you.
So you have to fight to get to that party in Israel.
This is what I'm going to say to you. If that can happen in South Africa, Israel also is improving.
Improving where?
In the language of what you just
improving where? Improving where? Last week they killed. Last week, you know how much Israel, you know what Palestinians dead? Last week.
Yes, Muta.
So we have to get better where?
Listen, Muta, listen. You can't sit here and speak of Israel from the place of what you hear on the news.
Also, they never kill them. The Palestinians never drop bomb and kill them.
Guess what?
I mean, not Palestinians,
soldiers do kill Palestinians.
Soldiers. And some picnic them kill.
Yes, Muta.
That's what that means. Okay, Israel killed some Palestinians picnics, so we can forget about that.
But now, Muta.
We can forget about that.
I'm not saying that. I couldn't say that. You know why I couldn't say that? You know why I couldn't say that? You know why I couldn't say that? You know what? No. Why I couldn't say that? I am concerned about death.
I am concerned about you.
And I'm concerned about life.
I am concerned because you switching for me. You switch for me, brethren.
Well,
you're my personal brethren. I tell you that.
Well, you cannot.
Me love you more than Jesus love little children. You will switch for me.
No, but you cannot not be my.
No, I tell you, say
you are my personal brethren.
Understand? I will meet you in your talk now. I say wait. Good man, go up Israel, go switch and turn for me, Israeli. You're Israeli. You're black Israeli.
Well, look now, Muta.
I love you so much, brother. I love you, know.
The way I love you and the way Israeli love you. The way Israeli love you.
What is?
Look, Muta, you've been to Israel, and the people,
the
way they care about you. Rasta is in Israel.
What is Rasta there in Israel?
And guess what, But Muta, I'm just saying this to you, non-apologetically, my brother. The love that Jews have for Rasta and the love that
Yeah, because Rasta claim truth. But people, yeah, because Rasta them claim truth.
And make it feel
the Rasta them say them is Israel.
Well, guess what?
And the people them in Israel is not Israelite.
Well, guess what?
Them are Israel, them are not Israelite. Them never know no Bible.
Well, guess what, Muta?
Them people they never know no Bible.
Well, guess what, Muta? I am saying this to you. I know who King Emmanuel is.
Oh, King Emmanuel, what you talking about?
Hey, Muta, you can't do this. I know who
King Emmanuel come up with.
I know who I know who King Emmanuel is.
So who's King Emmanuel?
And let me tell you something, Mutabaruka.
Yeah.
If you took 9 Mile Bull Bay under the order of King Emmanuel, even in its polluted state today, and sit it in Israel for 7 days.
Yeah, because they follow the Jewish tradition.
Hold on, Muta. No, I'm just saying this to you. I'm saying this to you. If you do that with the Bobo Hill or Dermot Fabian, I forgot the name of his movement, if you took that in Israel, I am telling you, the people that you're criticizing right now as Israeli, they would look at these people.
So them are not Israeli. Them are not Israeli. Who? The people them when I criticize.
The people that you're criticizing,
it's not Israeli.
You're asking if they're not Israeli.
No, if I ask if them is Israeli.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, them is Israelite from in the Bible. Are them same people there?
I can't say that, Muta.
Eh?
I can't say that, Muta.
No,
I cannot look at you and say to you that the Russians, the French, the Germans,
the Israel. Them in Israel now. Were they coming from
the
Egypt out of Israel, out of bondage?
Mutabaruka, let me just say this boldly to you again. This is what I admire the most. What I admire the most is that there's a people that you can ask me this question. Are they the real people that the Bible speaks?
No, answer me, brethren.
I don't know, Mutabaruka.
You don't know.
I was not physically there.
Well, me I tell you, say them is not.
Okay, and then
you don't show me, say them is.
And then you tell
there
me.
was no Israelite, no Egypt, and no slave, none.
And you tell me the real Israelite,
which is Israelite,
wherever they are. Tell me who are the real one.
Israelite is not a race of people, you know.
Okay,
it's a nation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So when I say to you now, I know me bring up the Israelite thing, but I tell you, say, when you mention about Bobo, and drop them in Israel, you know, it'll come like
there would be a mark of distinction.
Yeah, but me I say to you now, say, none of them Bobo man, they don't know the rituals of the Israelite, and what they might deal with in Israel.
I am saying this to you. I know it.
No, you know.
The informative information presented in this video is motivational and is positively aimed at inspiring, educating and entertaining the viewers with the cutting edge of critical reasoning. If you enjoy the contents on the Black Radar YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to show your support.